E-A-G-L-E-S. Eagles.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Week 2 JAKIB Postgame Show. A stone-cold stunner. The Eagles lose 22-21 to the Atlanta Falcons at the end. Saquon Barkley, from hero to villain, he drops the icing on the cake to finish the game out. He drops the pass. Falcons go down 6 plays, 75 yards, 65 seconds, no timeouts, and a touchdown to Drake London, and the Atlanta Falcons win this one. That's Dan Sileo. I'm Zander Krause. We'll be joined by John McMullen live from the NovaCare Complex, the Lincoln Financial Field. Dan Sileo, the Eagles are 1-1. They lose to the Atlanta Falcons. What's your initial takeaways?
Absolutely a colossal disaster at the end of the ball game. Dude, you threw a play at the end of the game that you didn't need to. Run the ball, kick the field goal, get out of Dodge. Okay? Get out of Dodge. You had it. And what did you do? You stopped the clock. And you knew this. On the other side of the ball, you had no pressure all night. By the way, the defensive tackles should be freaking fired tonight. They were atrocious. Bryce Huff is a disaster. After Gardner Johnson made that play, by the way, he did take his helmet off. That you had the game. I thought Kellen Moore called a brutal football game. That was brutal. I thought Hurts in the passing game was horrible. I thought Devontae, they gave him what he wanted. Dude, you cannot sit here tonight and tell me, with all that so-called talent, A.J. Brown is the most important part of that football team and your quarterback's not? Dude, no way. And your defense was terrible. You know what? I'm going to take that back because they did hold him to 22 points, and they did hold him, but you had a 2-minute drive. Cousins goes down the field in 50 seconds and scores.
Let me give it to you. 6 plays, 75 yards.
Terrible.
In 65 seconds with no timeouts, and they take the lead 22-21. Mind you, a 48-yard point after attempt because of an unsportsmanlike conduct by Drake London, and the Eagles lose the ball game. Unbelievable. Unbelievable ending to this game. It looked like the Eagles had it. Scott Van Pelt on the broadcast says, we'll be coming live after the game from the winning team, or from the home team who looks to be winning the game. They blow it.
Over.
Look, I got to ask you, Saquon Barkley drops that pass. What do you make of that play?
Okay, he drops the pass.
You said it, though. Why even
it's a bad play call.
Why even throw that football there?
Don't.
If he makes that catch, Sills,
it's over.
The game's over. The game's over.
I get it, but still, what you're doing down there, Zander, that's a high percentage play when, get this, you have everything on your side. They had burned their timeouts. They burned them. They had nothing. Do you realize that Cousins went down the field with no timeouts? Where was that defense? And that too high safety was a disaster at the end of the day. Did you see Slay get owned in that touchdown catch in the corner? Completely owned.
He got burned.
I mean, Barkley was a star in that game. He's not the GOAT. Listen, catch the ball. He's in the end zone. I get it. But, dude, the play call sucked in the beginning. Kick the field goal.
Well, in there, Sills, another theme that I was watching throughout the game that I thought we were going to skate out of here with the win was the defense was pitiful. I know it didn't really look – I mean, the Falcons only had 15 points till that last drive, so you're kind of like, maybe they're not so bad. No pressure. The Falcons were moving the ball all night. Kirk Cousins was 20-29 for 240. Now, granted, he got 70 yards on that last drive. 2 touchdowns. Bijan Robinson has 14 carries for 97 yards. Tyler Algier has 9 carries for 53 yards. They ran for 152 yards, passed for 230. The defense was pitiful. And then you saw it rear its head in that last drive when Atlanta just marched right down. It was like the Eagles weren't even on the football field. 6 plays, 75 yards in 65 seconds with 0 timeouts, and they win the game. It's unbelievable. The defense, really, they were bad all night, but it really showed up at the worst moment, and the Eagles lose the game because of it.
What was the yards per carry for Bijan Robinson in that game? It had to be 6-7 yards a carry.
It was around 6. I mean, he had 14 carries for 97 yards, so I don't know what the average was.
About 6 carries, because I know this at halftime he had 7.5. Going into half, he had 10 carries for 72 yards. Dude, nope. Where was the pressure?
Nowhere.
This is the second game in a row, Zander, that defense has given no pressure, and the 2 tackles were getting gashed again. Dude, I have to say this to you about Bryce Huff. Him setting the edge was a joke. He got run over every single time when it came to setting the edge. They were running out wide on him. They were running right at him. Dude, he's not a good 3-down player.
No, he's not at all. So that pass rush was non-existent all night. I mean, Jalen Carter, with the exception of the one play where he blew up the backfield, he wasn't anywhere tonight. The whole defensive line, we talked about it, all day today on the shows. Defensive line. They were nowhere, Sills. Bryce Huff, nowhere. Josh Sweat, nowhere behind the line of scrimmage. And this is going to be the result of it when you don't get pressure. And then Kirk Cousins marches his way down the field on the game-winning drive without a hitch. It's unbelievable. It really reared its head at the wrong time.
You know what I will say, though, that I was really glad to see? I saw 22 Hurts. I saw 2022 Hurts, and that is where you look, and he looks his best like that. But Zander, another turnover to ice the game. And you know what? When you watch him throw the ball, I'm sorry, dude. That guy's not going to win you a football game throwing the ball. Here's
what I don't like about that last interception. You still have a timeout. You need 15 yards because you have one of the best kickers in the NFL.
He made a 61-yarder before. Why are you throwing it down there?
We still had 27 or 28 seconds on the clock. You could have gotten 8 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards.
Spike it. Let him kick it.
Exactly. Get a couple yards and take the next time out and live to see another down. Instead, he forces a 30-yard throw. Jesse Bates intercepted. We talked about Jesse Bates all day. Great safety over there, for the Atlanta Falcons, and he seals the game. What'd you think of Jalen Hurts' game overall? He was 23 of 30, 183 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. But then also, you're not going to like it, 13 carries for 85 yards and a touchdown on the ground. He was great in the ground game today. What was your take on Jalen Hurts' game today?
A C. That's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it, dude. He needs to play A football. He has to be the A player in that game when you don't have A.J. Brown. C's not going to cut it. Zander, you know what? The reason I gave him a C, because I thought he made critical plays, and I also thought that he was decent going across the middle of the field. But again, you know what it was really? It was basically all Devontae making those plays. I'll tell you this, Barkley is the savior on that football team that keeps you in these games right now, because Saquon Barkley is some ball player. But, dude, how many carries did he have in this game, Zander? Because
22 carries for 95 yards. He also had 4
carries in 2 weeks. 46 carries in 2 weeks. You know what? He's on pace for 390 carries. Dog, you're not winning football. He's not lasting. I'll tell you what, man, that was a poorly designed. You know what it looked like? It was a rushed game plan after what they found out when AJ wasn't able to go. It looked like they slapped shit together for this game tonight because it was all over the place. Dude, again, Zander, I'm sitting here. I almost jumped off my chair when I saw them do this. Why are you throwing it? If he drops that, the clock stops, and you saved 48 seconds of the clock with that drop. The clock was the enemy of the Falcons. You helped them win that game.
Yeah.
That's, I think, on the head coach, too.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That play call there has to come down to the head coach. I'm sure Kellen Moore made the call, but you're the head coach. You got to manage the clock. You're right. I mean, the Falcons had no timeout stuff. You had him dead to rights. All you had to do was ice the game, run out the clock. I mean, I said it. Scott Van Pelt on the broadcast says the Eagles are going to win this game. We'll talk to you after the game from the winner's locker room. Boom. Eagles lose the game.
I'll tell you what, that offensive line too, man. I mean, I thought they played well. but I thought Atlanta's offensive line was the better O-line in that game tonight.
Atlanta's
they were opening up holes. And every single thing that I've been saying about that defense, Zander, was on display tonight. No rush, can't cover. And get this, the safeties, in my opinion, they played awful in that game. I do like the Gardner Johnson play. It was an enormous hit that he stopped. I thought they won the game on that hit. I thought he won the game on that hit.
Yeah.
I did. I thought it was over.
Sales, I'll tell you when I thought the Eagles had this game in the bag, because I did the halftime report. I was not happy with what the first half looked like from this team.
No, it favored the Falcons.
When the Eagles went 17 plays, 70 yards, and took 9.5 minutes off the clock, and then got the 2-point conversion and went up 18-15 in the game, I said, okay, Eagles are going to handle their business right here. And then the Falcons defense was on for obviously 9.5 plays, and then they failed to convert. And I'm like, the defense is gassed. Eagles are going to put the icing here and win this football game. That's when I thought the tide had turned, but, ultimately the Eagles end up losing in the end.
Let me tell you something, too. That was a meltdown at the end of that game. Defensively and offensively, Zander, that was 23 stuff. That was 23 kind of stuff melting down like that. You had that. That game was in the W. You took that W out of the win column, and you put an L there on coaching and game management and situational play calling. That was some of the worst I've ever seen 2-minute defense in what you – and, dude, you're playing so deep off the ball. Cousins guys were not challenged. And get this, the numbers weren't challenged, Zander. The corners were playing so deep that those guys were just walking out of bounds. I mean it, man. That is a poorly coached game tonight.
You could argue this loss comes squarely on the coaches with the way you handled.
That was a terribly coached game.
The way they handled the end of the game. I mean, the play calling, the clock management, the whole thing is just brutal. And the Eagles end up losing the game because of it. It's easy to point the finger at Saquon, right? He had the drop pass, and obviously, I thought he was great tonight. The play call sucked. The play call sucked. It was a brutal play call. Obviously, you want him to make the play, so I'm not going to let him off the hook for not making the play, but I can't put the loss on his shoulders. I just can't.
No, I'm not either. I'm not. That was a complete meltdown. And by the way, you should have been good enough defensively to stop. Kirk Cousins wasn't doing shit tonight, really. He wasn't, but I'll tell you what they did. Remember what we said, Zander, in the pregame and also on my show. If you don't get pressure tonight on him and you don't get pressure on him, he's going to pick you apart. He picked them apart in the most critical situation. That was in that 2-minute drive. 2-minute drive, that was in that minute drive that he went.
Yeah, 65
He went down the
seconds.
field in, what was it, 50 seconds?
Yeah, 65 seconds. 6 plays, 75 yards in 65 seconds. And by the way, they had no timeouts. They did it with no timeouts. Mark, right down the field. That defense got absolutely shredded. People talking about in the chat, bend but don't break. By the way, thanks everybody for being here tonight. JAKIB Postgame Show brought to you by Live Casino Hotel Philadelphia. That's Dan Sileo. I'm Zander Krause. We'll talk to John McMullen coming up once he gets done his postgame interview. So he's live.
Where's Bryce Huff?
Where is Bryce Huff, Big Sills? That's the question of the night. The whole defensive line really was brutal tonight, but Bryce Huff, man, the $17 million edge rusher, another game. Not only did he not show up, Sills, he looked like a liability.
He was a liability in the run game. Absolutely great call. By the way, where's the 30th pick? Where's Nolan Smith?
Yeah, he was brutal again tonight.
They have no edge rush. You know who the only edge rusher they have is?
Brandon Graham. I said it, Sills, at halftime. It's 2024. And 35-year-old Brandon Graham is still the best edge rusher on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's unbelievable.
This comes back to building the football team the way Howie did in the offseason. He gambled on Huff, thinking that he would be a 3-down guy. He thought that Nolan Smith would develop into being a little bit more than what everyone saw a year ago when it was his first year and you gave him the pass. By the way, Jalen Carter had a sack. That was good to see.
Yeah, but look, it's a one-off. It was a one-off play.
It was.
The other plays, he was nowhere to be found. He created no – look, before the game on the pregame show, you said forget sacks from the guys in the middle. Yep. I need you to collapse the pocket and make Kirk Cousins get off his mark. They didn't collapse the pocket at all, Sills. They didn't even move those offensive linemen back at all. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis were non-existent tonight, with the exception of that great play where Jalen had the sack.
How about this, too? You know, I was telling you that Drake London wasn't going to beat you. Well, he did.
Yeah.
In the final drive, he made the critical plays in the final drive. Dude, that football team is not in the Philadelphia Eagles league. And for them to pull out that win like that shows you more defense. And you know what? You got New Orleans on the back end of this now.
Yeah.
Hey, man, I'm going to tell you something. You better have your chin straps ready because that defense – and by the way, did you hear what Troy Aikman said, too, in the broadcast? He said that, hey, they're even saying AJ's going to miss the New Orleans game.
Yep, they reported that AJ might miss next week, so it looks like AJ will be without. They almost
miss AJ in that New Orleans game, you'll lose that game too.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough uphill battle with New Orleans red hot right now. Sills, I am going to take a couple of our super chats. Can't get to everybody. I promise by the end of the show tonight, I will get to every single super chat. That's my promise to you guys. If you drop money on the show, I will read it out. I just can't do them all right now. Let's go to Brian Fleming, $10. Brian, thank you, man, for the super chat. He checks in. Pass rush is garbage. Can't blame the field now. That soft high shell gets shredded as always. No blitzes, and Bijan had 97 yards. Then, like clockwork, Hurts with the picks because he doesn't see a safety. Brian basically sums up the game right there with the problem with this game.
Zander, you said it perfect too, that they panicked when they threw that deep throw when you're 14 yards away from giving. Hey, listen, Jalen Hurts throwing a 40-yard pass down the field to try to get you in scoring position, or a 15-yard pass to put Elliott, who's almost money from 50. Are you kidding me? Why wouldn't you go with the high percentage play to get Elliott in a position to kick? What is he, the top 3 guys in the league? I'm going to get that guy in a position to win the ball game instead of throwing a 40-yard pass down the field. And get this, you're throwing it to the 2 dudes that I told you couldn't throw it to, Bates and Simmons. Yeah. And Bates and Simmons were great tonight.
Yeah, Bates made you pay, and he iced the game with that interception. Let's go to another super chat here. Brian Pumper checks in. Fellas, it defies logic passing the ball on 3rd and 3. That's 40 seconds off the clock. Even then, Hurts hero ball. I'm scouting college quarterbacks now. Sills, just your take on that 3rd and 3 play call down at the goal line. I mean, brutal play.
I'm not doing that. I'm not throwing the ball down there. I'm going to run it, kick the field goal. But get this. Guess what you do there. Think about what you do with that down there on 3rd and 3. And Brian, you're right. Watch this. You get points and you kill the clock. You get 2 for 1 with that. Instead, you get no points and you save 40 seconds. Dude, it was a double whammy. Think about that at the end of the ball game there. 26 seconds were left when they got the ball or something like that, right? When the Eagles got the ball, it was 26 seconds. Zander, that 40 seconds of non-runoff was the game.
No doubt. Your doubt. Look, I'm going to bring up another issue here, and I'm sure you're going to talk about it all week on the National Football Show, 2 to 6 Eastern every single day on JAKIB, or Monday through Friday on JAKIB Sports. In 2022, Sills, here's a stat for you. Jalen Hurts, through 18 games, had 9 turnovers. In his last 20 games played, he's up to 24 turnovers. I know it was the last play of the game. I thought he played a clean game. Otherwise, but a critical part of the game. All you had to do was get 15 yards, and the Eagles might skate by and get a win here with a field goal from Jake Elliott. He makes a bad decision to force that ball down the field. Jesse Bates turns it over. Intercepts the ball. How concerned are you with Jalen Hurts and the turnovers?
Absolutely incredibly awful right now because, like you said, I had a stat that I was talking last week, 18 games. He's had 23 turnovers. Yep. I got 19 games, 24 turnovers. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, okay, this is not – so how many turnovers does he have in the first 2 weeks of the season? What are you looking at, 4?
Yeah, 4
He's
turnovers.
got 4 turnovers already. And get this, the passing game, the first one against Green Bay was mediocre. The second one was terrible. I didn't really think outside of Devontae, they didn't do anything. Couple passes. And I thought when they opened up the game going to Goddard up the middle, I was thinking, okay, that's good, okay, because then they handed the ball off to Barkley. I said, all right, they're going to establish these 2 guys, and then they're going to loosen up the secondary for Devontae coming across the middle. They completely got to. Kellen Moore, that's a F. He was terrible in his play calling tonight. I thought he was terrible, man. He put that team in a position. Dude, you were running the ball down Atlanta's throat with Barkley. Barkley was gashing them too.
I know.
And so was Jalen.
Even
was Jalen gashing them.
Even back to that first half, the first good Eagles drive, they go 4 plays with Saquon Barkley, and he runs for 39 yards in 4 plays. Then they get down into the red zone. They go 3 straight passing plays. They went for it on 4th down and left with no points. Now, listen, I'm not an offensive coordinator. I don't profess to know NFL offense better than Kellen Moore. Why do you go away from the run there? He gashed that defense the whole drive, and then you get down to the inside the red zone, and it's like, we forget we have Saquon Barkley? I don't understand that type of play calling in the NFL. It drives me nuts.
There was no reason to get away from your best player on the field. Your best player on the field was your running back. And then the second best guy on the field was Hurts. Those guys, dude, when I saw Jalen Hurts.
I thought outside the interception, I thought Hurts turned it around and had a decent night tonight. I thought his second half was pretty good.
Again, though, he was predictable. Did Dotson play? I mean, I love the fact
Dotson had 1 catch early in the game.
Okay. You know what I did like? I liked when they threw Devontae in the slot in there, down in the red. I did. But how about the other guys? You know what it became, Zander? Predictable again. Because with no AJ, who was the second guy who had the most catches? Was it Goddard?
Receptions was actually Britton Covey, but he only had 23 yards on 6 receptions. I mean, Dallas Goedert. We talked about Dallas Goedert all day, though. Now, he had 3 catches for 38 yards, but 2 of those catches came in the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game. He was nowhere for the entire – I kept saying, is Dallas Goedert out there? Where is Dallas Goedert? Are they going to throw to Dallas Goedert? They didn't use him at all.
Look at what Raheem did in the game. Raheem said – you know what Raheem did? Hey, let Devontae get his yards. Go ahead. Because the other guys aren't going to beat me. That's exactly what he did. He knew those other – he said Barkley was going to be – he knew Barkley was the guy. I'll tell you what, I give Raheem credit. He was poised, and I don't know. You got to give Kirk Cousins credit. Well, I don't know how much credit you give him. You have to give more credit probably to the Eagle defense for no pressure.
Well, you know what, Sills? The NFL is a game of inches. And this super chat, I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to go to a couple more super chats. It is as true as it gets, and it's an unfortunate reality for Eagles fans. But this is the truth when you look at this game. I don't care how Kirk Cousins played in the rest of the game. In clutch, relative says, tale of 2 QBs in clutch time kind of says it all. One was up to the challenge, the other wasn't. When Kirk Cousins needed to march down the field, 6 plays, 75 yards in 65 seconds with no timeouts, and the Falcons win the game. Kirk Cousins showed up when he needed to show up. So, for all the people that say Kirk sucks in primetime, Kirk sucks on Monday Night Football, any given Sunday in this league, and Kirk Cousins came and he won the game for them at the end of on that last drive.
All the things that I feared about your defense were on display tonight. No rush, no linebacker cover. Your secondary plays too far off the ball. My God Almighty. They were so scared of getting beat deep that they were too deep. The safeties were 25 yards back, and the corners were 15 yards off the – Hey, Zander, how in the world are you really telling me that you're going to play that far off the ball with an experienced quarterback? Hey, I'll play that far off the ball if I've got a pass rusher that's rushing the passer and getting to the quarterback. I get that. But when you have no rush and you barely can stop, I thought that Falcons were going to run the ball down on the goal line with about 40 seconds left, or 38, 39, 40 seconds left, so that they didn't give the Eagles any time. Dude, once they got down there inside the red zone, that thing was over. They were not stopping that thing.
Yeah, no doubt. We're going to get to our first commercial break. I'll take a couple more super chats here. Appreciate everybody. As I pointed out to you, any super chat you guys drop tonight, I will get to it by the end of the show. And then on the post-game show, we will bring up a couple Eagles fans as we did last week as well. So thanks, everybody, for the super chat. Stick Shift checks in. He says, at Sileo, what about Huff? He was a liability, didn't contain the edge in the run, and had 0 pass rush. He quit a lot. What do you think? Sil's your response to Stick Shift.
Absolutely. And you're right. Stick Shift, when they were running the ball on the perimeter, he was getting wedged down into pursuit. You know, Zander, it was so bad. And Stick Shift, post it in here in the chat if you can. He got blocked so far down into the line of scrimmage that he knocked the pursuit angles off of the linebackers that were trying to make a play on Bijan Robinson. Zander, he got blown into the pursuit, which means he was picked up and thrown into the pursuit. He is terrible. Let's plain and simple. His 2 games so far, his 8 quarters, he's terrible, man.
You ready for the stats? You ready for the stats? Bryce Huff, 2 games, 0 sacks, 0 QB hits, 0 hurries, 0 tackle for losses, 0 solo tackles, and 1 assisted tackle.
And 17-8.
And 17-8 million.
17.
That's your Bryce Huff stats so far. That's a pitiful start to the career. And by the way, tonight was a pass rusher's dream. Kirk Cousins couldn't move around a lot at all. He was a statue in the pocket again, holding on to the football a lot. I mean, if we had, I hate to say it and I hate to live in the past, but this team needs Hassan Reddick. This team needs a player like Hassan Reddick who's so fast and so explosive around the edge. He wrecks games and forces that quarterback clock to hurry up by a second. We didn't have it tonight. We just didn't have it.
I'd like to have asked Howie on the sidelines there a question when he was standing there getting ready to jump up and down over the win. And then he realized the defense that he didn't build was on display. That's also on him, dude. I mean, he can't get away from the fact that he put less talent on that side of the ball. There's no way to get around that. Remember what Vic Fangio said. Vic Fangio's scheme is not going to save you. Players save you. I thought Quinyon Mitchell, I thought he was okay. I didn't think he was special. And then, dude, in a 2-minute drill, they put in Cooper DeJean. I'm like, really? Really? Okay. I mean, wow. This guy's played no football, and you put him out there in a 2-minute drill. Okay. Well, I guess he looked at it like this, Zander. Well, you know what? He can't be as bad as anything else that's going on out here. Let's get him some reps. Dude, here, let me go down the list here. Josh Sweat, non-factor. Jordan Davis, completely shit the bed tonight.
So he looks like he doesn't belong on the field at times. Jordan Davis.
Boy, I got to tell you, dude, I'm starting to get into a position here where I'm starting to do this. I think he's an NFL player, and I think he's okay. But the 13th pick, man, listen, I don't see it. I just do not see it. Carter, he's got to play lower, man, under his pads because he was getting drilled off the ball. Like you said, Brandon Graham played the best of anybody on the front 4. I mean, he was the best. Huff was the worst. Nolan Smith is non-existent. Where was Kobe Dean? Where's the Kobe Dean? Where was he?
Nowhere. He was nowhere tonight.
Okay. Zach Bond was, dude, anybody who thought really Zach Bond was going to be what we saw in Green Bay, I was hoping just for him, and I didn't think he was terrible. But again, he had terrible moments too. The safeties, where was Reed Blankenship tonight?
Yeah, Reed Blankenship was a liability tonight. Now, Nakobe Dean had a couple plays where I was like, okay, that was a good play. Reed Blankenship, there were several plays where he looked like a liability in coverage specifically.
That entire unit, there wasn't one person on that unit who played well. Not one player. Can you pick one guy on defense out where you went, hey, I
thought Brandon Graham played okay.
Brandon Graham. Okay, Brandon Graham. Brandon Graham at 36 years old?
Yeah, 35. Wow. Yep.
Get this.
No, it's a joke.
You can't replace Brandon Graham?
Look, Howie made a bad move getting rid of Hassan Reddick. He really did. That guy should be here right now. He should be pass rushing for the Philadelphia Eagles. But instead, we were afraid to give him a couple extra bucks. You would have given him, what, $22 million? You gave Bryce 17. Spend the $5 extra million to bring back your star edge rusher. Doesn't make sense to me. And look, this defense looks like they're going to be reeling because of it. We'll go to one more super chat, Sills, and then we'll get to our commercial break.
By the way, I like the kid Booker. I do agree. I think Booker played
Booker made some plays tonight. Booker was okay tonight. But look, if you're relying on Thomas Booker to man your defense, you're in trouble. So that's just the brutal truth. Brandon Snyder says, total missed opportunity to pick up a game on the other 3 teams in the NFC who choked this weekend in the Lions, Niners, and Cowboys. No doubt, Brandon Snyder. Eagles definitely let one slip here. Falcons march down the field in 65 seconds for 75 yards and win this game.
No timeouts.
Yeah, and Drake, Slay was just meeting with Drake London at the middle of the field. He told him, "Great route, bro." So I'm sure Eagles are going to have fans are going to have a feel with that. He said, "Good route, good route." So Darius Slay shows some love to Drake London on the field after he burns. And we're going to take our first commercial break. John McMullen will join us.
Like that, I can't stand. You know what? Maybe I'm just old man.
Yeah, you're old school. I mean, you came from an era
I hate
of
that stuff.
You came from an era of convicts versus Catholics, baby.
Hey, no fraternizing after a loss.
No, I hear you. So we're going to get to our first commercial break. Appreciate everybody in the chat. Thank you for all the super chats. By the end of the show, I will get to every single super chat. So thanks all you guys. Hit that like button. We'll have John McMullen coming up live from the Lincoln Financial Field once he wraps up at the press conferences. So looking forward to getting John's take on the show. Stay tuned, everybody. The JAKIB Postgame Show will be back in 3 minutes.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid. Score and save in Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season. And let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer 3 major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore, have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the JAKIB Postgame Show. Eagles lose a nail-biter to the Atlanta Falcons, down to 1-1 on the season. Falcons march down the field, take the win 22-21, and the Eagles ice it with a Jalen Hurts interception, forced ball down the field, and Jesse Bates picks that ball off. Dan, let's get into the defense tonight. We talked a little bit about it already, but overall, I mean, how are you feeling about this Vic Fangio defense now through 2 weeks? I thought it was a worse performance this week. Came back to bite him at the end. What are you feeling about the Vic Fangio defense after 2 weeks of the season here?
Boy, I'll tell you what, I felt better about Sean Desai's defense a year ago in the first 10 games than I did in the first 2 games with Vic's personnel that he has. The personnel on the Eagles defensively is just not good. It's just not good. And at some key positions, It's too young. I mean, you got a combination of no experience and not good people. Zander, think about the players that they have. The linebacking core is completely makeshift. The depth level on the team, the corner, again, I'm not going to kill Quinyon because that's Quinyon's second start in the NFL. This guy's played 120 minutes of professional football. We got to give that guy an opportunity to mature. I thought they played better in the Green Bay game than they did in this game. And the most critical time, Zander, I'll tell you, when they went into half, and that game was like that at halftime, I went, boy, the Atlanta Falcons have to be thrilled that they're not down a bunch of touchdowns against that Eagle team on the road. They're not playing well offensively. The Falcons had to be thrilled in that locker room, knowing that, hey, look at the field position that Atlanta had in the first half. They were down inside their 20. How many times? 4? I mean, for them to be able to just hang around in the ball game, they had poor field position. And I said, you know what? That favored Atlanta that first half. They made it a fourth quarter football game. Remember I said that on the show today. You make it a fourth quarter football game, that's going to favor Atlanta. And it did.
Now you're spot on. Fourth quarter football game ultimately came down in Atlanta, took advantage of it. Look, Kirk Cousins, man, for say what you want about the guy, but 65 seconds, he marched down the field, went 75 yards and just iced the game on the Eagles. I thought that was brutal. And then I thought, look, I don't want to put this on Jalen Hurts because I thought overall he had an all right night, but that damn interception was brutal. You're 15 yards away. You still have a timeout on the board and you have 27 seconds. You did not need to force that ball down the field right there. You could have gotten away with kneeling the ball or running the ball for 4 or 5 yards and then taking the timeout and giving yourself another chance. You needed 15 yards to be in Jake Elliott's range. I thought that was a brutal play, and he didn't understand where he was with the clock. The clock was too rushed in his head. He thought he needed to push that ball further than he needed to push it. I thought that was a tough decision by the quarterback.
I guarantee you, Nick is going to get hammered for that third down play of throwing the ball to Barkley. I guarantee
he's already getting hammered. Yeah, he's getting hammered.
He's going to get hammered for that because, again, just Zander, you handed the game to Atlanta on that play. Everyone goes, well, if Barkley makes a play, okay. But if you don't call that play, you kick the field goal and you burn to 40 seconds. Think about what you would have done there. You would have killed 40 seconds and Cousins would have been pressured more. Dude, the Atlanta Falcons, once they got down to the 5-yard line, I thought they were going to start running the ball because they had plenty of time because they got down there so fast on that Fangio defense. Dude, the situational play calling between Fangio and Kellen Moore in the 2 minutes left in the ball game, a lot to be desired. That was bad coaching on both sides of the football. And again, they got to have a lot of come-to-Jesus conversations on themselves. You're calling that play. I get it. It ices the game. But it's a high-percentage play, too. You're hoping he catches it. You're hoping he doesn't get stopped short. All you have to do is kick it, and the clock runs. You know what you could have did, too, Zander? You could have ran that clock down after, say he doesn't get in. You could have ran the ball, and you could have still ran the ball, run the clock, ran the 40 seconds off, kicked the field goal, and you would have won the football game. I don't know. That, to me, that really was the difference at the end of that football game because, look, for Kirk Cousins, what was the seconds? How long did it take him to get down the field?
65 seconds, man. 75 yards and 6 plays. No timeouts used. They had no timeouts left.
No timeouts, and you got a guy that's playing too high safety, 25 yards off the ball, and the corners are playing 15 off the ball because you heard Troy Aikman saying they're playing too deep. Troy was making the call on the broadcast. These guys are playing way off the ball here, and it's wide open. Dude, those seam routes and those curl routes were wide open. Dude, the guy was walking out of bounds. They were not contested plays.
Yeah, just a brutal night for the Eagles to lose this one. They dropped to 1-1 on the season. Tough loss tonight in Sills. You now have the Saints who just throttled Dallas in Dallas, and then you have the Bucs who are playing red hot right now with Baker Mayfield. This team better get it together, or else you could go into this bye week 1-3, especially with the prospect of AJ Brown missing the next couple of weeks. Eagles need to get it together, and they need to get it together quick.
They need to get more out. Get this. Now you're forced to get more out of Barkley because, dude, Dotson was a no-show tonight. The guy was a no-show.
Sills, he had one catch for 6 yards.
What did Paris Campbell do?
Nothing. I don't think Paris Campbell even had a catch.
So then you became predictable like 23 again tonight, right? One guy
Paris Campbell had no catches. Calcaterra had 2 catches. Barkley had 4 catches. Covey had 6 catches. Dallas Goedert 3 catches. Devontae Smith 7 catches for 76 yards.
That is not a passing offense.
No, it's not.
That's not a $200 million offense, dude.
No, it's not.
Okay.
No. It's a little bit alarming how much this offense relies on AJ Brown. He is this whole offense.
No doubt.
Without AJ Brown, this team does not work the same.
That can't happen. That can't. The quarterback has to be the engine, not the receiver on the perimeter. He's got to be the. Listen, Jalen.
I didn't think Jalen Hurts was bad tonight. I didn't think he was great. I thought he struggled a little bit in the passing game, but with the legs, some of the throws he made, I thought he had an okay night until the end when he made that poor decision. He could have had a chance to win the game, march him down, get in field goal range in that last 34, 35 seconds they had, and he didn't. He failed to do it. But other than that, I didn't think
he was okay though. When you don't have AJ, he has to be above okay.
I know he's got to be elite. Look, he's paid $51 million. You got to be elite.
Do you think that was an elite performance out of Hurts tonight?
No. Elite? Come on, no. But look, to be fair, there's not many quarterbacks in the league right now that looked elite through 2 weeks.
Okay.
Not Patrick Mahomes. Maybe Josh Allen's the only one right now.
How many people have type of talent in their huddle like him?
Not many.
Okay.
Maybe
you mean to tell me that, remember what I was saying to you? I went like this. Okay. I want you to think hard and long about what I'm saying to you. Devontae Smith, Jahan Dotson, and Paris Campbell is what you went into this game with your pass catchers. That's not going to – Atlanta never feared that. They never feared that attack. But when Hurts – let me tell you something. You know what kept the Eagles close in that game? Jalen's legs, not his arm. Hurts looked like 22 tonight. He didn't. But guess what? He also looked like 22 when you need him the most. That was to make a critical play to get his team in a position. You only needed 15 yards. Why are you going for 45 or 35 yards when you only need 14 yards? Dude, I would have let Josh Elliott, Zander, kick an attempt from 65. He had made a 61-yarder. Don't you think that's a higher?
We had plenty of time, dude. There was plenty of time left on that
30 seconds left.
I mean, they needed 15 yards. They could have ran multiple plays there to get to 15 yards. And you would forget 65 yards. You would have been in the 50s for Jake Elliott, and he's done that before.
He makes that.
It's just dumb there at the end. So I got to ask you though, where are you putting the blame on with this game? I don't like to play the blame game, but this is a brutal loss. This is a brutal loss for this football team. Is it a coaching thing? Head coach, coordinators, Jalen Hurts, players, defense? What do you got right now as the onus on the blame for you in this loss?
Let's go to the history here. When do you believe that the coaches knew that AJ wasn't playing? Now that we're finding out that it looks like
Friday night.
You think maybe even Thursday? Because look,
because
you're missing 2 games.
He tweaked the hamstring Friday, though. He tweaked it Friday. Before Friday, he was perfectly good.
So you did all your installs on Tuesday for the game plan that you were going to play previous to AJ getting hurt. So then you had to revamp your entire game plan. Dude, it looked like they didn't watch game film of the Steeler-Atlanta game whatsoever tonight. You knew moving him around and getting to Cousins was going to be essential in getting him off his spot. He sat back there for 3-4 seconds. There were times back there, dude, the Steelers were in his ass the entire 60 minutes. They were getting internal pressure. Remember what I told everyone on my show, the National Football Show? I said this, I go, hey, Pittsburgh, you can say whatever you want about Watts coming off the perimeter, but they got internal pressure. That's a top 3 defense in Pittsburgh. The Eagles have a bottom 3 defense in the NFL, especially when you're not. And what makes it worse, too, you are playing a scheme like that, and you're putting the players even more of a deficiency when you're 15 off the ball from your receivers in a 2-minute drill, and you got safeties playing 25 minutes off. Cousins played pitch and catch. That was coaching. I think the preparation, the game planning for that game tonight was a lot to be desired. That was a poorly coached football game. And who made that call? Now, I'm probably thinking Nick's going to say that he made that call at the end of the game. And then also the interception, he's probably going to say that it was him. But
that interception to me looked like it was.
We now know he has no say in any of that.
How about Darius Slay, by the way, getting burnt on that last drive? Drake London. I mean, that wasn't.
Did you see what he did? He was watching the quarterback instead of watching the guy.
It wasn't that complex of a route. It was a pretty simple route.
It wasn't. He got burned watching the quarterback. Remember, I tell folks this all the time. Watch your keys in front of you. It was a lazy play. Hey, I'll tell you something, too. I'll bet you $1 million that Raheem and Kirk Cousins were sitting back going, they never tested the guy. And the Packers never tested him. Let's test him. They tested him in the 2-minute drive, and he gave up the game winner.
No doubt. Sills, 2 super chats I want to get to here. We're going to have John McMullen join in shortly once he wraps up with these press conferences down at Lincoln Financial Field. 2 super chats. Thank you, everybody. My promise to everybody in the chat tonight is every single super chat will be read before we wrap up on the show. Let's go to Jay, who checks in with $20. Jay, appreciate it, man. Thank you for your support of the channel. He says, Sills, you're always spot on. Can your inside people with the Eagles help make sense of this trash we displayed? Could they help these Nimrods? I know it's hard to fix stupid, but damn, Jay is not happy. That's an Eagle fan if I've ever heard one. He's upset, Sills. What do you have to say back to Jay?
Absolutely. This is all play calling here and the game preparation. Jay, I appreciate the super chat. Was, in my opinion, they were not prepared to play that game. You know, it looked like it just looked like a rush game plan. I just saw Senor say something. So Nick Sirianni is in the press conference and saying all calls are called by the offensive coordinator. Wow. You know, there lies the difference between a true head coach and a non-head coach. He blamed Kellen Moore.
Yeah, but here's why I don't have that much of a problem with that. This team has thrown Nick Sirianni under the bus at every single turn in the last 3 years.
But he knows
now
his
one
role.
play call goes wrong on the offensive side of the board, and they want to put it on him again. Remember, Sills. This is a league that doesn't give an F about you. Right now, Nick Sirianni's thinking about himself. He's not thinking about this team. He's making sure everybody knows I didn't make that damn play call, because all the last couple of years, everybody's throwing him under the bus.
So now you divide the locker room even more so
Maybe
doing
he did,
that.
but like I said, it doesn't seem like Nick Sirianni cares right now. He's got himself first. And almost in a way, this has been created by the front office. They brought this guy back.
Well, then nothing has been fixed. Then nothing has been fixed from 23, and you still have the chaos of the upstairs people. And again, remember what we kept saying,
This
Zander?
is Philly. This is the Eagles. This is how it works. That's why
Then it never will work.
I hated this setup. Now, do I like what Nick Sirianni say? No, I don't. But do I understand why he said it? 100%. This team castrated him, took his offense from him, and made him a cheerleader. And now they're going to try and put the blame on him for an offensive call at the end of the play call. He said, no. That's not me anymore. This front office took that from me.
Okay, well, wait. You were retained because you were going to play along with them and go with them and say, yes, this is us. We're all in this together here. That's dividing the room.
Now, I didn't hear the press conference, so maybe he did add other context. Remember,
you're right. You're right. I want to hear it tomorrow.
That is one quote that says, look, this is on Kellen Moore. I'm sure they got asked. I'm sure he got asked, Nick, did you call that play? And he said, no, I didn't. That's the truth.
So get this. What you've done in a loss. Remember what we said about Sirianni? We said this about him. When adversity hits, how are you going to handle yourself at the press conference? Are you going to blame someone? Are you not? Or are you going to take it on the chin for the team? Okay? I mean, last year, Zander, when he took it on the chin in that Seattle game, he made a bold-faced lie-up. Why wouldn't he make a bold-faced lie-up here? What's the difference? Is it now that you said, hey, this ain't my game plan. This ain't my offense.
Well, in a way, Sills, it's not been created by Nick. It's been created by the setup the front office has had going.
That's not a winning setup.
Don't blame Nick. They should have fired his ass if they wanted to castrate him. Now you have a head coach that's up there, doesn't know what sword to fall on, doesn't know what not to, doesn't want to be axed from the league for good. So he's trying to kind of make himself look good. In a way, I understand it. This is why all offseason, for anybody that listened to Birds 365, John McMullen continued to say, I do not like this setup. And nobody wanted to listen to him. Everybody said, oh, it's going to be great, Kellen Moore. And I was one of those people. I thought Kellen Moore was going to be a perfect fit with this team. But one thing goes wrong, and now everybody's pointing the finger. And Nick Sirianni said, whoa.
Pointing the finger.
Yeah, but that's because everybody's pointed the finger at him. And now the thing that he actually did, they took from him.
Hey,
so
that wasn't my call.
He said, wait a second. They took the play calling from me. They took my offense from me.
That's not my play call. That's his play call. That's Howie and Jeffrey's play call.
It was Kellen's play call. That's the truth.
Okay. So guess what?
Here's Jameson.
John
McMullen joining in, so we'll bring John McMullen up in a second. Jameson checks in. Nick and Presser threw Kellen under the bus. We'll get John's take. He heard the press conference live and in person. He said it was Kellen's call to do that. Nick has no say. Nick will be gone by week 7. I need a cold one. Jameson, pretty classic. We'll get to everybody's super chats coming up. Let's bring in our man, John McMullen, live from the Lincoln Financial Field, who just heard the press conferences. Johnny Mac, do I got you, brother?
Yeah, how you doing, guys?
Good, man.
Oh, good.
John, first takeaways, man. Eagles blow this game 22-21. They fall to 1-1 on the season. Just your initial reaction to how this transpired. It all went south for the Eagles, John, in the last 3 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I would say even, they had it down to about 145, and they threw the pass to Saquon Barkley, which guess what? That's a good play call. He's open. You're the best player on the team on this given night. Got to execute. Got to catch that football and the game's over, essentially. So, number one, that's the first problem. However, once Saquon Barkley makes that mistake, maybe his first mistake of the night, got to pick him up. That doesn't mean you have to give up a touchdown in 65 seconds for a team that couldn't move the football at all. So, Vic Fangio's defense. So, my first take is collapse, easy catch for Saquon Barkley, drops the football, and then 65 seconds, it takes a hobbled Kirk Cousins to go down the field. I have tremendous respect for Vic Fangio, but I don't even know what they were trying to accomplish defensively on that last drive. It was egregious all the way around.
John, here's my take on that call, though. Absolutely, if he catches it. But if you don't call it and you run it, you burn 40 seconds off the clock. You kick the field goal, and there was 26 seconds left in the ball game. They would have been squeezed with the clock. If you play the high percentage play by running it and then kicking it, you get 2 for 1. You burn the clock, which is the enemy of the Falcons. They had no timeouts. And then on top of that, you kick for points. Instead, you get nothing out of that. So, and you turn the ball around and they stop the clock. The worst thing you could have done there, and you're right, he's got to make that play. But the play call for me was, they'll run the ball, kick the thing, you get 40 seconds off the clock. You got to burn that clock down because they have no timeouts. And then you turn around, like you said. Hey, John, even Troy Aikman was saying this. You're playing 12, 13 yards off on the corners, and you're playing like 23, 24 yards in that two-high safety. He was playing pitch and catch the entire time down the field. Some of those passes were uncontested on the sides. They got beat on. How do you get beat, John, on the numbers?
Yeah, and you got to bare minimum, if you're going to get beat, you got to get beat inside. So
Inside.
you're at least taking some time off the clock. Yeah, it was a very poor performance, but to your first point, look, yeah, they could have ran the ball. They could have played it conservatively. That's not who the Eagles are. I think, if you think about from the prior to kickoff, the biggest cheer for this Eagles team was for Saquon Barkley. These people were fired up about seeing Saquon Barkley. And on top of it, he has a great game. He's playing great again, to the point Zander's giving away another jersey. Didn't come to fruition, but he was playing a great game. You get the point. I think he had 5 targets. The first 4 he caught. Everything going perfectly. Look, that's easy, Dan. I'm sorry. I know people like to blame the coaches, like to protect the players. You're throwing the football, easy pass, open, worked, play call works. Execution isn't there. I say all the time, people do not judge play calls. They judge play results. That's a good play call. Kellen Moore went and won that game. Saquon Barkley let Kellen Moore down, not the opposite. And then the defense let Saquon Barkley down. They could pick their teammate up and say, all right, he led us to this point. We got a 6-point lead. Let's get off the field. We got a hobbled quarterback on the other side. They haven't been able to do much. And for whatever reason, they come out with that plan. So, yeah, I get why people want to blame the coaches. This is not a coaching loss. That game was won. That game was there. That's a 3-yard catch. That's a simple catch for any running, for a poor receiving running back. That's a simple catch. And one of the best dropped it.
How about this, John? Okay, you've got one of the best place kickers in football. Instead of tossing the football down the yard and trying to get a 35-yard completion.
Yeah, I wouldn't have taken that shot.
You needed only 14. You needed only 14 yards to try to give Elliott a high percentage play. I mean,
yeah, they were about 14, 15.
Who made a 50-yarder?
His career is 61. He needed about 15 yards to at least give it a shot. And you've seen the way kickers have kicked in the first 2 weeks of the NFL season. It's like 50, 55-yarders are chip shots. They needed 20 yards for that. I have no idea
John, they
why
still
he
had
took the
a
shot
timeout
right there. Yeah, I have no idea why he took the shot there. Bad overthrow, and Jesse Bates made the play. Yeah, I agree with you. That was a bad shot by Jalen. Yeah, there's not much. Played a pretty clean game. Other than that, he tried to take a shot. Devontae was open. He just overthrew him. Yeah, bad play.
Hey,
John,
I got one more question. John, I tell you, I'm really disappointed in the 2 defensive tackles versus the run. I mean, this is now going on.
Yeah, they haven't been good against the run at all.
I mean, and what you do is you put those backers where you already know you're limited in talent back there, John. I mean, in the first half, Bijan Robinson was at 7.2 a clip. I mean, your thoughts again on the 2 tackles. This is a second game, and really, if you want to go back to 23, we're talking about 12, 13 games now where they're giving up a boatload of yards against the run.
Well, yeah, I mean, this defense, Dan. They're willing to give up some running plays to keep the explosive plays off the board, which they were able to do. But when you start to get up at 150, and that's where Atlanta was, that's a little bit too much. You got to correct things. Now, the Eagles ran for 186, so this was a run-heavy game on both sides, but a lot of the Eagles stuff was quarterback related, Jalen related. It was just Bijan Robinson and Algier. The biggest play of the game I thought was going to be C.J. Gardner-Johnson, who can't tackle anybody in the open field, and all of a sudden he acts like he's Ronnie Lott on a 4th and 1. And I'm like, where did that come from? And
they just destroyed him.
Stuck Bijan Robinson and sent Bijan backwards. That I thought was going to be the play of the game, and now it turns out to be a footnote. So yeah, but overall, I'm with you. That partially it's scheme related. They're willing to give up some running yardage. That's part of the philosophy, but they're giving up a little bit too much. And I think, Jordan Davis hasn't played as well as I expected. Jalen Carter hasn't played as well as I expected. And the linebackers are okay, which is an upgrade from where they were. But they're still not Fred Warner. So I think people have to understand that. So there's going to be some issues there.
John, after last week,
the funny part, at one point, guys, they had run 27 offensive plays in the fourth quarter to 4 for Atlanta.
Yeah, John, on that 17-play drive, I thought the Eagles iced the game after that. 17 plays, 9.5 minutes. I thought Eagles took back control.
And then they came off that and got the 4 and out. That was the CJ play. Wasn't a 3 and out. It was a 4 and out on the 4th and 1. And they got the ball back and started driving again. That was like a 10-play drive. I thought the Falcons were dead in the water, but they gave them that little sliver. And you're right. If they just run the ball, yeah, they're probably going to win the game, even if they don't convert, because they're going to burn, time off the clock. Although it only took them 65 seconds to score. So you can't even say that 100%. So, if you're Vic Fangio, and I love Vic Fangio, come on. And I know everybody's hyper-focused on Nick because he's the head coach. Now, because I saw somebody when I popped on before you guys were talking, he threw Kellen Moore under the bus. This is what people wanted. He didn't throw Kellen Moore under the bus.
Exactly what I said, John.
He's saying he's the offensive coordinator. He gets to call the plays. This is what everybody wanted. Now, could Nick usurp him in the moment? Yeah, he's the head coach, but he didn't. That's what you wanted. That's Kellen Moore's call.
John, it's a shit setup.
Oh, I agree with that.
John, think about this. Last year, he made up some infamous story about the Seattle deal, about that play up there. All of a sudden, now it's like, that ain't me, that's him. Boy, I'll tell you, you got to turn around and look at somebody and go, how was that? And you're not all in this together here as an organization. And you walk in there and you take it on the chin together, him doing this. And again, you're right. And Zander, you're right. You're going like, hey, I don't make all the play calls. That guy does. You're pointing fingers?
Well, I don't think he was pointing fingers. I think
he did. He said offensive coordinator made that call, not me.
Well, he did. So I guess my question to you would be, what do you want? You don't want him calling the plays. He didn't call the plays. Now you got the guy you want calling the plays, and he let him call the plays. And by the way, the guy who called the plays made the right play call, and the player screwed it up. So I would go away from the coaches on this one. I would go away from the coaches. That was a perfect play call that was not executed.
That if you don't execute it, John, the consequences are you stop the clock and you give them time if it's not executed. Where a higher percentage play is run the ball, kill the clock, because the clock is your enemy. And you kick the field goal and you get the points and you take them and have them have to go the distance with less time. I don't know, man. I might take that option that I burned more time off the clock. Scoring a touchdown there, you're right. It takes the game out. And again, it's aggressive play calling. It's totally aggressive play calling, especially in a situation where you weren't scoring a lot of points. Hey, it's one thing if you were in a game like you were with Green Bay and you're going 30 points, 28 points, and you're going back and forth, and you're putting points on the board. Points were at a premium tonight. They weren't putting any points on the board because of what you said, John. Look at the amount of rushes by both teams. You knew the clock was your enemy. You had to get – I think you had to burn the clock, and you had to make Cousins, who, like you said, he's non-mobile. And, again, let me flip it over here to you, though, John, and say this to you. Dude, the pass rush, where is it?
Yeah, John,
where's the Eagle? John, where's the Eagle pass rush?
We gave him a
I'm with
mulligan in
you.
week
You
one.
know,
I mean,
I guaranteed a Bryce Hubb sack. I apologize to anybody at US. Yeah, I mean, look, it hasn't been there. You had one nice rush from Milton Williams. You know, ironically, on that same play where Milton got through for the sack, which was the only sack of the game. I don't know if you guys saw that, but Bijan Robinson chipped the hell out of Nolan Smith. He put him on his ass, a 215-pound running back who later in the game got stopped in his tracks by C.J. Gardner-Johnson. How is he stopping Nolan Smith on a chip block? But he was. Yeah, it's time to start asking questions about Nolan Smith and Bryce Hubb. Where are they? You know, what's going on with this pass rush? I think that's legitimate. Even Jalen Carter, to a certain extent, hasn't played the way I expected him to play, but it's only 2 games. I mean, I do think it's a very small sample size, and the pass rush hasn't been there. It can't continue like this. No question about it. You had a stationary target for the most point, no pressure on him when it mattered most, with letting him go down the field in 65 seconds. And once Kirk Cousins gets comfortable, he's accurate.
John, that's 300. John, that's 311 yards in 2 weeks rushing that front's given up on top of the non-pressure.
Yeah.
You think it's more scheme? You think it's more scheme? Because, by the way, like you said, Milton beat a pretty damn good player, Nett Lindstrom, on that arm over. That was a really nice pass rush. That's a really good player that he beat on that pass rush. So that was a good sign inside there, but they were spot moments for that front. So, John, do you think it's scheme, John, or do you think really it's player ability, or do you think they just need more reps in this scheme?
Well, they don't need more reps in the scheme because most of the guys have been here and they're playing the same scheme. It's just a different teacher and play caller. But they've been playing big scheme now this is the 4th year. So for the guys who've been here, that's not an excuse. And Bryce is new, maybe a little bit for him, but I mean, he's got to show something as far as the pass rush goes. And he hasn't. And, you know, they had 2 hurries today, 2 quarterback hits. Yeah, not good enough.
I thought Brandon Graham.
Brandon's been their best defensive front player so far this year. And Brandon, to me, is criminally underrated. But this is his 15th year, and he's obviously this is it for him. And, you know, he shouldn't be the best player.
John, is it? Because I'll tell you what, I mean, he keeps playing like this. I want that guy to come back because, like you said.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they pay him, he'll come back. He loves to play. Okay. But, you know, it's most likely his final year. Look, there's no excuses for the pass rush at this point other than what I said, small sample size. I'm not going to.
Go ahead, John. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for interrupting you guys.
It's not. You got 15 games to go. There's not a period put on this sentence. Josh Sweat is a good player. Something will break out at some point. Jalen Carter's a good player. Something will break out at some point when it comes to the pass rush. With Hupp, we got to see it. With Nolan Smith, we got to see it. It'll get better. I can't tell you when, but it'll get better. Will it get good enough? That's the question.
What'd you make of Quinyon Mitchell's game?
I thought it was good until the end.
Hey, John, for 2 games, I got to tell you, man, I thought the kid Teron Arnold was going to be the better prospect. And I saw him get torched in that Buck game on Sunday, too. I'll tell you what, man, the kid can play. He's a good player. And for only 120 minutes of football, you know, he's gonna go through bumps and bruises, but he surely looks like their best player out there. And for Slay to get eaten up on that last play on a very, very simple route that he had there, Drake London. I mean, this kid Mitchell looks like he's their best player back there.
Well, he gave up, I think, 2 before that on the other side. So I think everybody was to blame on that final drive in the secondary. But up until that point, I thought he played very well. And then for whatever reason, but he's a very young player. I mean, as you mentioned with Terrion Arnold, they're young players. They're going to make mistakes. He made mistakes, situational football. You have to understand the situation. You have to, you can't give him the sideline, as you mentioned. You have to keep him inside at least. If he's going to catch a 15, 20-yard pass, at least make sure 30 seconds comes off the clock, or, you know, you're making him speed up. Some of these things, letting them get out of bounds constantly. Like I said, 65 seconds.
Incredible.
It took them.
It's unbelievable, John.
They left too much on the clock to the point you're talking about, oh, the Eagles have time to get Jake Elliott a 61-yard field goal. That's how quickly they scored.
With no timeouts, John. No timeouts.
Unbelievable.
No
I thought the Falcons were going to start running the ball down there with seconds left because they had gotten down there so quick, because they left, like you said, John, they left too much time on the clock. I didn't think they were going to. They probably didn't think they were going to get down there that fast. And
it was bad.
I could not believe.
Bad. Yeah, it was really bad. And, you know, sometimes you wonder, you play the whole game and you're effective in pass defense for the most part, and it all falls apart. We've all seen that happen in the NFL. You get a little bit too conservative. And yeah, they should have went and tried to, you know, ironically, the offense tried to go win the game, and they didn't. And the defense tried to go lose the game, and they did.
John, I got to ask you about quarterback 1, Jalen Hurts. Your thoughts overall on his game tonight, and then the turnovers. Another turnover tonight. I know otherwise he played a clean game, but look, the turnover comes at a costly time. You got to read the room there.
Well, there was too much time left to.
That's what I'm saying. There was still 20-plus seconds, and you had a timeout.
Yeah, and you only needed, as I said. Now, there's no guarantee Jake's going to hit another 61-yarder, but at that point, you just want an opportunity to give him a chance to go win the game. And they had 3 plays probably at least.
Yeah, I think at least
to try to get that 15 yards. Yeah, I would have kept that one in the holster. But he tried to make a play and overthrew it pretty dramatically. Yeah, it's bad throw.
What'd you think of his overall game tonight?
Yeah, I thought he was pretty good considering no A.J. Brown. And boy, we haven't even talked about this. This offense is brutal without A.J. Brown.
Oh my God.
Zander, you and I talk about this all the time. Best pure football player on the Eagles. And for whatever reason, I don't know, because of his personality, and ironically, he's a nice guy. He's a very thoughtful guy, especially for the stature that he has in this league. I don't know. He's underrated. People don't think he's as good as he is. Certain Eagles fans. He's good. He's as good as his reputation, maybe even better, because every time he's not on the field, they're a stinking disaster in the passing game.
I'll tell you something, John. I checked out Birds 365, and you said something that was so apparent tonight, in my opinion. And you tell me if you thought that it played a factor. Most of the time when we get our game plans, you get your install book or your game plan with all your trends and such on Tuesday. And then Wednesday, you start practicing and you go in to all that and you start practicing who you're going to play against, tendencies and trends, like I said, brown set, strong side set, whatever. And you get throughout the entire week. And by the end of the week, you're in a walkthrough. When you have a player of A.J. Brown go out on a Friday and you have to reinstall a new game plan or at least a new approach, and then you look at the actual productivity or lack thereof, 1 catch for Dotson, very few targets for Paris Campbell. You had Covey, but he had 23 yards on like 6 catches. They were like 2-yard catches, and the rest of them went to Devontae Smith. And obviously, that is where it became predictable again a little bit. Where if you're Raheem Morris, you know exactly those other guys aren't going to beat you, John. I mean, I was talking to Zander about this. Look, this is what you rolled out there: Devontae, Jahan Dotson, and Paris Campbell. I'm afraid that's not going to frighten me if I'm a coordinator. Goddard, I thought they were going to get him going with the first pass across the middle. I liked it, but John, how much do you think that played a factor in tonight's game plan that they had to have a complete reinstall over the weekend? And
I asked Nick about that after the game. When you lose a player of that magnitude as a late scratch and your game plan's already installed, because the last thing you want to do is say, all right, we're going to replace AJ with Jahan Dotson. I mean, that's not good coaching. So you got to rework things, and they reworked it. The only 2 guys that were targeted in a meaningful way were Devontae and Britton, which tells you Jalen Hurts trusts Britton Covey. You know, and you mentioned, 6 for 23 is mainly RPOs and bubble screens. 2 of those illegal men downfield came on bubble screens that Covey hit, 10 yards, 10 yards.
John, were they both on Juergens?
They had 3. 2 of them were on Juergens. 1 was on Lane. They had 3 of them. And 2 of them were plays that worked to Britton Covey, and they just got downfield too early. So I asked Nick about that as well. So those were the guys, and a little bit of obviously Saquon from the backfield, who caught 4 passes, again, 21 yards, and he missed the final target. He dropped, and Dallas only had 3 catches. Their longest catch was 19 yards. No explosive plays. They count explosives as 15 plus, so they'll count it, but most people would say 20. When AJ's not in there, there's such revisionist history on last year because of what it went in the 1-6 spot. People forget the offense was tremendous in week 16 and week 17. They were top 5 in every single metric: yards, points, you name it. Against the first game against the New York Giants, which they won, the only game they won down the stretch, and the game against the Arizona Cardinals, which they lost because the defense was atrocious, but they performed offensively. When it really got bad was in the first quarter of week 18, and that's when AJ went down with the knee injury, and he didn't play the rest of the game. They couldn't do anything. And then the Tampa in the playoff game couldn't play. They couldn't do anything. And here we are. They're a little bit better equipped because Saquon's here. But in the passing game, they got a tough time doing anything meaningful other than bubble screens to Britton Covey and flare passes to Saquon Barkley and the occasional decent throw to Devontae Smith. But it is, versus what it usually is when he's on the field, it's like pulling teeth when he's not on the field.
No doubt about it. John, what was your thoughts on Darius Slay getting burnt by Drake London on that final play? What'd you see there from Slay?
I got to look at it again. It did look live like he got beat pretty badly. And Drake's not a separation guy.
Yeah, it wasn't a complex route. I mean, I don't know. Slay got caught watching or something.
Yeah, so I have to see it again. But it wasn't. I mean, again, 65 seconds. They went the length of the field. And Slay was the last one. And he's the best player, so you expect him to hold up a little bit better. And he didn't. But, I mean, to me, that's the story, right? I mean, your best player on offense, chance to win the game, drops the football. Arguably your best player on defense, not in the position he should be in. So yeah, it's disappointing, and they shouldn't have lost this game.
No doubt
But-
about it, John. Yeah, no doubt about it. 1-1, John. Now we got the Saints, who just beat the Cowboys in Dallas, and then you have the Bucks. What's your level of concern coming out of this game? We got 2 tough games before the bye
Well,
week.
I got to see, and we did ask Nick about AJ.
Yeah, because ESPN kind of reported on the broadcast.
Troy
John,
Aikman on the
he's gonna miss
broadcast
a couple
said that
weeks.
he's not going to be available from what he
Yeah,
understands, for
they're
the
in
Saints
trouble.
game.
They're in trouble. They're in trouble if he's not out there. I think you saw that. They're in trouble, especially against the Saints. Maybe you can win a game like tonight's against Tampa because they're not terribly explosive. The Saints are going to score some points, and the Eagles aren't equipped to score 30-plus points without A.J. Brown. I think you saw that tonight.
Yeah,
John, I heard you say this on your show too. Do you think with the new install of the new offense with Kellen, do you think that they still have the mindset of going deep? And without AJ in there, boy, those deep explosion plays, they're just like non-existent. Do you think they're getting away from that too much and isolating more on these checkdowns? Because that's all they worked on in camp was really, remember the conversations we all heard, John, and what you were being told was, hey, Jalen's taking what the defense is giving. Well, okay, I understand that. But do you think they've gotten away from explosion plays?
Well, they did today.
Is it too early?
Yeah, I mean, they had a 67-yard touchdown to AJ in Brazil. But again, I mean, they tried to take a shot to Devontae at the end of the game. But yeah, there weren't many shot plays. But they're a different team when he's not out there. So, I mean, it opens up. Look, and I think Devontae Smith is a great player. And Zander and I have had this discussion. He could be a wide receiver 1 in this league. And by the way, I'm watching the Barkley drop again on TV. That's egregious.
Yeah, it was
why is anybody complaining about that play call? I'm sorry. He's wide open.
Well, because I think
defense.
both of you are right. I think if you're a coach there, you do your best to mitigate any problems. If a problem can happen,
or you go win the game. You need to put the ball in the hands of your best player. Go win the game.
I get it.
The Detroit Lions fans disgusted me last year when that organization was trash for so long. And they get to the cusp of the Super Bowl and actually outplay the San Francisco 49ers and should have won that game if players who made plays the entire year simply made plays in big spots in the NFC Championship game. But everybody focuses on Dan Campbell, 4th down, going for it. And by the way, if they execute the plays were there. If they just made the plays. But they want to blame the head coach because they won't want to blame the players. If it wasn't for the head coach and his philosophy, the Detroit Lions wouldn't even be in that game. To be in a position where he gave them the position to go win the NFC Championship game, and they didn't do it. Same thing here, much lesser stakes, that the offensive coordinator gave Saquon Barkley, who I said, you should have heard the cheer when he came out compared to even Jalen Hurts. These people were fired up. He was playing a great game, and he put the ball in his hand to win the game, and it was right there, and he didn't make the play.
John, let me ask you something, though.
Final question, Phils. We got to wrap up with John.
Okay. What my question would be, what's a higher percentage play? That flare pass or running the ball and killing the clock, putting points on the board where you don't.
Why is a flare pass to a great football player not a high percentage?
It's a high percentage play versus turning around and handing it and having 40 seconds go off the clock.
If I make a 3-yard pass, if I make a 3-yard swing pass to Justin Jefferson, is that a high percentage play?
And that's
what do I got to do? Walk the football over to the best stinking player on the team and say, "Oh no, go sit there because I have no trust in you."
Hey,
The player, you're a player,
seconds.
Dan. You're
Wait
a
a minute.
player.
Wait a minute. No, because
Make
I'm going to pull a Brady on you.
freaking play.
I'm pulling a Brady on you. Brady's going to take the high percentage play in that play, and he's going to burn the clock.
How is that? How is that? How is that not a high percentage?
He
play?
dropped it. The reality is he dropped it. The clock stopped. They gave him the game on that play because the player didn't execute.
Yeah. How
Right.
is it?
You
That's
turn
not
around,
a
hand
question.
the ball.
How
Look,
is
it's
it not a
the
high
play is
percentage
higher
play?
risk,
Wait a
higher
minute,
reward.
You turn around, you hand the ball to the guy. 40 seconds is off the clock. You kick the field goal.
And
Then
then you
make the
lose.
guy have to
And then
drive
you
to the
lose.
left.
And then you lose 10 games because you're so
Okay.
damn conservative in an era of modern football.
I'm not talking about 10 games. I'm talking about that play.
It's a high risk, high reward play. Sills is talking about the risk. Johnny Mac's talking about the reward. Both of you, in a way, are correct. John's right. If they complete that pass, which should be completed, it's Saquon Barkley, for crying out loud. The game's over.
Reality,
Sills is trying to
the
mitigate
clock
the downside.
stopped.
Yeah, you're trying to
Reality.
mitigate the downside. I think both of you are
I'm
correct.
dealing
right?
in reality. The clock stopped, and it gave him more time.
To call that, I'm gonna jinx myself. But after I get off here, I'm gonna walk out to the parking lot in Lincoln Financial Field, and it's high percentage I'll get to my car. But a car might hit me. A car might hit me, and I might not make
If you cross 95, yeah, there's a better chance that a car will hit you.
He
Yeah.
wasn't crossing 95. He was strolling in the park. He was strolling up. To
He was
call that
strolling
a
in the park.
non-percentage play, that was not a high percentage play.
He dropped it. He dropped it, right.
So-
Instead of turning around and handing it to him and the clock burns,
right.
the clock stops.
About that,
Reality is it gave them more time.
So he dropped the easiest pass in the history of the world
John,
to catch,
turn-
and you're blaming Kellen Moore.
Yeah, because it's in my opinion, all you had to do was turn around and hand the ball, kick the field goal, make the guy have to go with 40 seconds off the clock.
And they only took him 40 seconds to score 65.
might not have mattered
At
either
the end
way.
of it, John, I guess that really doesn't matter because
No, we got to let John go. We got Birds 365 in the morning. The guy's working hard. John, just your final thoughts here on
Thank
the
you,
way
John.
out from this game.
Bad loss. Almost unforgivable loss, but it is only week 2 and you can make up for it. And that's the NFL. I thought it would be a one score. Here's the thing. The Eagles are not going to do anything differently in a similar situation. And if they do, that's when I'd criticize Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore. They're going to try to win football games. They're going to try to be aggressive. They're going to try to put the football on the players they think can go win games. And that's what they should do. Sometimes the ball, it might be a deflection on a pass. There's a randomness to it. A guy who's going to catch that 99 times out of 100 drops it, and the whole thing changes. But that shouldn't change your philosophy. And that's why I brought up Dan Campbell. That philosophy got you to where you were on the biggest stage, and players didn't execute. I'm so sick of people blaming coaches because, and I say this all the time, win, lose, or draw, it's players first. Players first. Coaches aren't playing. There's some bad coaches that can screw up games. But if you execute in that particular game, both offensively and defensively, the Eagles win.
No doubt. John, thanks for joining, man. We'll talk to you in the morning on Birds 365.
Thank
Great
you,
stuff
John.
tonight. Appreciate you doing it, Johnny Mac. We'll talk to you in the morning. All right, man.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, there's John McMullen joining us on the JAKIB Postgame Show. Sills, we're going to hit a commercial break. Before I let you go, just your final thoughts, and then I'm going to run through some super chats with everybody else. Thanks, everybody in the chat. I will not end the show tonight, everybody, without reading every single super chat. I'm going to let Big Sills go to bed. Look at him. He's got his hair going crazy. I'm all jacked up on Eagles football. Still, it looks like he needs a day off.
Hey,
Look
man,
at the-
I'll tell you, me and John going back and forth.
That was great stuff from you
Hey,
and John.
I'm just telling you, Xander.
Everyone called me a politician. Here's the truth. I think you're both right. If you're a coach, why not get rid of the downside there? But John's right. You make that play, the game's over.
Okay.
Forget the field goal.
John,
The game's
but
over.
Zander, if you had been scoring points, go back and forth, and you had been putting a lot of offense up, you had 18 points at the time. Okay, you had 18
No, you're
points.
right. I mean, look,
you're not scoring a ton of points.
I get what you're saying, but at the same time, I totally get what John's saying. If they make that catch, we're not even sitting here having this conversation. We're celebrating an Eagle win. That's good. But anyway, let's get to our commercial break. So we'll come back, put our final thoughts on the show, and then I'll go to the chat, and I'll even bring some people up from the chat if you guys want to join me on the show, on the post game show as well. So stay tuned, everybody. Back in 3 minutes.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Score and save at Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wild wood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES. Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the JAKIB Postgame Show. Eagles dropped this game to 1-1 after a collapse in the last, 90 seconds, 100 seconds of the game. Falcons take the 22-21 victory, and then Hurts turns the ball over with a final interception to close the game out to Jesse Bates. Big Sells, we talked about everything on the show. We just had John McMullen. You guys had a pretty good debate on how this game should have ended. I agree with both of you if that's possible, Big Sills and John McMullen. But just your final thoughts on this game, man. Eagles drop one, and really they should have won this football game despite not playing their best game, despite not having A.J. Brown. Just your final thoughts on the Eagles game tonight.
I thought the offense was predictable, throwing to one guy, one primary target, and I think Raheem played into that. I don't think the offense was horrible. I think they ran the ball exceptionally well. But again, this issue comes with the problems that you have on defense. You can't stop the run. You can't create pressure. You can barely cover any people. And when you play against the New Orleans Saints team what do you actually think? I think Bijan Robinson's a great player. What is Chris Olave and Alvin Kamara going to do this coming week when you've got to, off a short week, you've got to play against the New Orleans Saints and the way that they're playing football? And at the other end, they've got Pro Bowlers at every level. Their linebacking core, their front four. I'll tell you something else. Chase Young, that was a guy that the Eagles could have maybe gone after for about $8.5, $9 million. He's playing damn good ball, and he got after the Cowboys. He looked awful good. And you got Honey Badger that's back there in the secondary. That's going to be a challenge, especially without A.J. Brown. Okay? You're going into that place, New Orleans, on the road, and playing against the Saints at that place, the Superdome. That's a pretty tough one, man. And then you turn around and you got the Bucs. Now, look, I think your offense is better. You'll probably get A.J. back there. But, dude, your issues are going to clearly still be for at least the next 2 months on offense or on defense. And I don't know if you have any answers right now. Who's going to get better? Are the two tackles? Maybe. Or is one of the tackles? Is Huff going to show up eventually? Remember something. Let's do something positive here. Remember with Hassan Reddick? It took him about 6 weeks to get going. And all of a sudden, Zander, you know.
Wait, I know you're trying to say let's be positive. Something inside me still is telling me that guy Bryce Huff is never going to be what Hassan Reddick was in Philly. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but something inside of me is telling me no freaking way. But I appreciate your optimism.
Well, hey, you know me, the Mr. Optimism. I'm just saying, Eric. No,
he doesn't come out often.
Hey, I'm just saying, man, that you have a lot of soul searching. And again, John and I will agree to disagree on this here, but boy, I'll tell you, man, I don't think the play calling on either side was putting those guys in a position. John's right. I never said that the player's not accountable, that Barkley shouldn't have made that play. But it's also about putting players in positions to win. That's what good coaching is. You told me all the time about getting Kellen Moore in here to increase. And, hey, let me ask you this. Do you really think that play was football IQ? Is it the IQ to turn around high percentage and burn time and then kick the field goal and make them with less time have to score?
Yeah, but the problem with that, if that removed the downside of potentially losing the game, then I would agree. But it didn't because it was still
you lost it.
I know, but even if we did it in your way, Atlanta still would have had a chance to go and do the same thing. With less time, but they did it in 60 seconds anyway. Who the hell cares?
Well, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that one and that option, at least trying to burn the clock, because I got a 2-for-1 on that. You know, you guys
I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying the downside still remains.
You stopped the clock and gave him a possession. I'll tell you what, very interesting tomorrow. I might have to get Angelo on tomorrow because Angelo went like this.
All of a sudden, Angelo, everybody's like, maybe Angelo's right. Look, I see everybody in the chat. I appreciate each and every one of you. Every super chat will be hit tonight, so I'm going to let Big Sills drop out of here in a couple seconds here. Appreciate all you guys in that chat. Hit the like button. Sills, good show tonight, man. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the National Football Show. We might have to get it. We might have to add a segment, Big Sills, to the National Football Show. You and Johnny Mac weekly. That's going to be a good one with you two going at it, kind of debating, seeing how you guys see the game. I think I respect both. You two are my football knowledge. I get it from John and I get it from you. So to hear you guys go at it, it's really great stuff. So great stuff tonight. Good stuff on the postgame show.
Wait till tomorrow. Someone, the coach, the player, your boy. I told you this. I was going to come down like a thunderbolt if you lost that game to the Falcons. Zander, I shall see you tomorrow, 2 to 6 Eastern, National Football Show.
No doubt. Sills, I'll catch you tomorrow, brother. All right, man?
You got it, my friend.
All right, brother. There's the Big Sileo joining on the JAKIB Postgame Show. Great stuff there. I see everybody in the chat. I got a couple things I want to do before I bring some people on. I will bring a few guests on tonight as well. 12:54. Remember, I do have Birds 365 in the morning, so I'm not going to go a full hour or anything here, but I do want to bring a couple people on. My promise to everybody is every single super chat that I have will be hit, and I have quite a bit of them. So I'm going to take a commercial break because I got a little production duties I got to handle on the back end. Anybody that's in here that wants to join the show, stay tuned. I will drop the link, but first I do want to get to any super chat. So if you have a super chat for me, drop them in the comments. All super chats will be hit before I get out of here tonight. Big shout out to you, Ron Morris, for becoming a member. No Saquon jerseys given away this week, but I think we're going to get one next week with Saquon rebounding now after that tough end for his game. So good stuff there. Let's take another commercial break. JAKIB Postgame Show will be back, and it'll officially be the JAKIB Postgame Show. We'll bring a few of you guys on. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Score and save in Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood day.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES, Eagles.
Welcome back in, everybody, to the JAKIB Postgame Show. Eagles dropped this one, moved to 1-1 on the season. Tough loss tonight for Eagles Nation. Appreciate everybody in the chat right now. Make sure you guys hit that like button if you support the show and support the channel. So thanks, everybody, for being here tonight. Another great night of viewership, so thanks all you guys. I know it was a tough night. Eagles dropped that one. Saquon Barkley with a big drop at the end. Darius Slay gets burnt. Falcons march up the field in 65 seconds and score and take the lead. Eagles lose 22-21. As ugly as that game was, I never really thought we were going to lose the game. And then it got to the last 30 seconds, and I'm like, holy shit, are we going to lose this football game? Unbelievable that the way that ended. Akbar, I see you, brother. Link will be coming soon for you, Akbar. I do want to run through some super chats. I'm going to try and go biggest to smallest first. James Carver checks in with $20. I think Seth last week and this week was right. Time to send the third back and pay $21.22 to Reddick, and EJ needs to play second tight end after Grant's repeated blown blocks, and Cooper or Q must move inside. James, I don't think the Cooper or the Q is going to move inside, but maybe Cooper DeJean will be ready. You saw him get in there toward the, at one point when Avonte Maddox got hurt, but we'll see what ends up happening. And then to the Hassan Reddick point, no doubt, man. I mean, look, we thought this guy Bryce Huff was gonna replace what Hassan Reddick was. Hassan Reddick was an unbelievable edge rusher here in Philly for 2 seasons, and we're not getting that with Bryce Huff. I know it took Hassan a couple weeks. It's not happening. Bryce Huff is not that guy. He's not that guy. It's a way over projection. He's not that guy. So don't expect it, but I do appreciate the super chat, and I don't think Hassan Reddick is coming back, by the way, for what it's worth. So thank you, James Carver, for the super chat, man. I appreciate that very much. Let's go to Brian Fleming, drops $20 as well. Brian, thank you, man, for the super chat. Appreciate your support of the channel. Whoever had faith in the bend, then break, it's fundamentally dumb. Your top priority is defending a play with the lowest probability of success. Couple that with no blitzes and a terrible pass rush. Middle of the field wide open. Brian Fleming, you do make a good point, man, because, this is what it's become, right? It's bend but don't break, but it's consistently been the bend but break at some point. It always breaks, and I think that's a product of the modern NFL, right? And the offenses are too good. They're too explosive. It's also legislated now where it's harder to be good on defense in this league. You can't hip drop tackle. You can't do this. You can't touch the quarterback. It's an offensive league. We got to evolve from this system, and I do think, Brian Fleming, that you're right about the bend but don't break. Thank you for the super chat, man. I appreciate your support of the channel. That's going to do it, I think, for the $20 super chats. Let me see if there's any more of them. All right, I'm going to move into the $10 super chats. Khaled checks in. If this gets ugly and we lose against the Saints and Tampa, is Nick out? Is Nick out because 2023 his head is going to stick out again, and Nick is still on a short leash? Khaled, I think you might be right. And I think you're starting to see that in Nick's press conferences where he's putting himself before anything else, right? I mean, he kind of said, hey, that was Kellen Moore's play call. He's more – remember, this is a tough league, right? Coaches get fired on average after 2-3 seasons. So Nick might start be thinking, hey, man, I want to have a job in this league for a long time. I'm not going to die on the sword for the Philadelphia Eagles, especially the way they treated him. Last year they took his offense. They castrated him. They made him a cheerleader. All these things. Nick might have a grudge, and in a way, he might be protecting himself. So while we might not like it, I can understand why Nick is doing it from a personal point of view. And, to your point, maybe Nick is out before the season is over. We'll be, more of these losses, and I think that will be a surefire thing that he will be out. So thank you for the super chat, brother. We appreciate it. Relative Time Works checks in. We already read this earlier on the show, but I will read it again. Tale of 2 QBs in clutch time says it all. One was up to the challenge. The other wasn't. Yeah, unfortunately, that was correct tonight. Brian Fleming, pass rush is garbage. Can't blame the field now. The soft 2-high shell gets shredded as always. No blitzes in Bijan, 97 yards. Like clockwork, Hurts with a pick because he doesn't see a safety. Brian, thank you, brother. I read that earlier on the show. Thank you for the super chats and for your support of JAKIB Sports. Now I'm going to go to the $5 super chats. Thank you all, by the way, for supporting the channel. It really goes a long way. So thank you guys for stepping up and just dropping some money on here. It does go a long way. I know time is valuable, money is valuable, everything is valuable. So thank you for spending some time and some money here on JAKIB Sports. James Carver checks in. Barkley dropping the ball is not a coach's fault. If you wanted to kick, then kick the kick first, or even the first 2 kicks. James, you're right. That was John's point, and I think you side more on the John McMullen point of view, and I think that's a fair point of view. Brian Pumper checks in with $5. Brian, thank you, man. We appreciate that very much. There it goes. J-Mac blaming Saquon. The guy needs to hold that head coach and quarterback accountable. Just run the ball on 3rd and 3. Look. I get what you're saying. I get what both are saying. I get what John's saying. I get what you're saying. It's an unfortunate thing. If Saquon makes that catch, Brian, you're not typing that super chat. So, I get it, but at the same time, I understand both points of view. Cash Marino checks in. Great play call. Barkley dropped the ball, so the coaching had to have an aggressive play call to follow that. That's a fair point. That was on, I think are you talking about the great play call? Barkley dropped the ball, so the coaching had to have aggressive play all to follow that. Well, they didn't really have a play call after that, Cash. They just kicked the field. They just kicked the field goal, and they took the 6-point lead, and then Atlanta got the ball back and went down and scored. So I don't know exactly what you're referring to there. Brian Pumper checks in. Jalen Wentz and Nicky Cutlets are ruining my team. Send Hufflepuff on the first train to Jersey. QB1 and H and head coach have lost the locker. Brian, I think you're a little over embellishing it. I think everything's going to be all right. Jalen Wentz, let's not call him that just yet, but he does have to get the turnovers in control. In flight 215, we need someone to help Jalen keep his composure when he's under pressure or time urgently. You're right about that. And that's what I don't like about Nick. I don't think he provides that for Jalen Hurts at all. Jameson Smith, Nick and Presser threw Kellen under the bus. We did read that earlier, Jameson. Thank you for the super chat. Savvy B, they had more days off than anyone in the league and still weren't prepared. Fire Nick. It's a good point. I forgot about that. They had basically a mini bye week coming off of Brazil. So you're right about that for sure. A Warriors Rage. Appreciate the super chat, brother. Thank you, man. The only QB that has the talent around him, Hurts does, is Purdy, and Purdy is less than $1 million. Hurts doesn't get the benefit of the doubt anymore. Look, that's a brutal truth, but you're right, man. We can't just keep always having an excuse for Jalen Hurts. I mean, at one point, he has to be the elite quarterback that gets us over the top, that plays better ball, that makes up for the loss of A.J. Brown. You can't rely on Jahan Dotson and Dallas Goedert. It's got to be the quarterback, the elite $50+ million quarterback. You're right, Warrior Rage. Appreciate the super chat, man. Nosty Beats checks in. Reality is that we don't have a QB with a skill set to take full advantage of all the talent on offense. He's at his best playing solo off-script ball. Yeah, I mean, I think you might be right a little bit on that, but, we'll see how it all goes. I'm going to do a couple more super chats after. I do want to bring some people on the show. Sean Mims, thank you, man. Glad I didn't call out from work, even though it's raining. Sean's at work. Yeah, you didn't miss a bad one tonight, Sean. Catch the replay, but excuse me, everybody. Tough game tonight. Eagles lose it. I'm going to drop the link in the chat. So who wants to come on the show? I do want to give some people, if you weren't on last week, a chance to come on. I know our man, everybody's waiting for Akbar. So I know Akbar is going to be in. So if you guys join the show, I just put the link in there. I can pin it. Let me pin it. I should be able to pin that. One sec. I'll pin it. Where's Akbar at? Let's start off strong with Akbar. I know he's going to have a lot to say about this game. All right, just pin the StreamYard link. So if you guys want to join in, come on in. Appreciate everybody, by the way. I see a couple people already in the chat, so I'll go to all these people in a second. Andre says, Xander, how about Nick running down the sideline looking like an ass on the CJ stop? Andre, it's so funny you said that because I said the same thing. I'm watching the game. I'm like, that's not a head coach. That's not what head coaches do. I don't understand why he did that, but he does do it. And that's goofy, Nick. So good stuff there. I do have a couple people in the chat. Let's go to them now. Akbar. We're going to bring up Akbar first. He was a legend in week 1. We're going to bring on Akbar right now. What's going on, man? How you doing, brother? What's your thoughts?
Hey, what's up, y'all?
Great to see you again, man.
Good to see you too, man. Listen, man.
Thanks for coming in. Your segment was a hit last week, brother. What's your take on this game, man? Tough loss for this team, brother.
Listen, man. I was prepared to come on here with all this great shit to say to you about how I thought, Jalen Hurts using his legs and looking like his old form. I was prepared to tell you that that I don't like the defense, but they only gave up 15 points. I was prepared to tell you that shit. But then that collapse at the end, man, it just really, it made me feel like when they lost the Super Bowl. Like, that's that feeling I got in me right now. It's like how they lost the Super Bowl. Like, that was a really horrendous loss, and I was very, very disappointed, man. I haven't heard Johnny Mack or Sills talk about how Slay was ducking tackles. Like he was making job.
I can't tackle at all, man.
Listen, you would see him like literally like stand there like, but not tackle. He was.
No, you're right. You're right.
Jalen Hurts. I was glad to see Jalen Hurts do a little, but Okay, let me go. I'm gonna go to that play because everybody's talking about that play. I fucks with Johnny Mac, but fuck what Johnny Mac talking about right now. I ain't trying to hear that shit. What the hell? Like, like he was definitely supposed to hand that ball. Have we learned anything from Pete Carroll? Have we learned anything from Pete Carroll? Anything? With Marshawn Lynch right there at the line, and you throw the ball to get an interception. Now he didn't throw the ball in harm's way, but it's only a minute and some change on the goddamn clock. Like hand the ball off. It's three, and let me tell you something else. I ain't hear nobody else say. 4th and 3, I'd have still went for it again. That you either gonna get the first down. Troy Aikman was saying,
or they're pinned on the goal near the goal line.
You were right there at the goal line. I'd have went for it at 4th and 3 and made Kirk Cousins go the whole length of the field. He would have had probably like 97 yards. He couldn't do that shit in a minute.
That's
but
actually a good point. Akbar, I didn't even think of that, man. That's a good point. I don't know if he would have been able to do that.
he wouldn't have been able to do that. It was 4th and 3. Fuck it. Let's go for it again.
Yeah,
Either we gonna get it. We've been gashing them all night. Fucking Saquon Barkley was running all on them all fucking night. Okay, now the bull Bijan Robinson, I wanted to come on here and kill y'all about saying how good this dude is after running 68 yards last week. He only ran 900 yards all last year. But the bull nice. He nice, but our defense is trash. Like, okay. I see. It's really hard for me because when we say that the defense is trash, this is out of sorts. Huff, Carter, the whole damn squad except for the whole squad, dog. Mitchell.
I think Quignon's a bright spot. I think he's looked good as a rookie, man.
Quinyon looks good as a rookie. I give him that. But the rest of the whole defense, okay. But they only gave up 15 points.
I know, until the end.
And last week they only gave up 29. But the defense kept us in a game as shitty as we've been saying that they played. So it's hard for me to say that, they gave up 15 points before that collapse. 15 points. But in my opinion, they should have went for it on 4th and 3. I feel as though they would have got it, especially if Jalen Hurts would have ran it himself. I seen him do a push tush last year, fucking 4th and 3, and make it. Like, and Jalen Hurts going way down the field. He needs more wherewithal on where he at in the game. He's been in the game for 4 years now. Like, he doesn't, in my opinion, he doesn't have that championship. He got the swag, but he don't got the mindset, if that make any sense.
I don't know. You understand? Akbar, I think the tough part about Jalen is I don't know if he possesses the talent at quarterback with some of the elite talent doing, like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. These are dudes that elevate everybody around them. It seems like Jalen needs a lot of guys around him. I mean, you lose AJ Brown, he's a different quarterback,
I feel y'all when y'all say AJ Brown. Now, in my opinion, Barkley is the best player on the team. I mean, he's good. I'm talking about with AJ Brown on the field.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, he's running and catching the ball. You know what I mean? AJ Brown is, I guess you could say he's more electric because he can cover more ground on the field. Yeah. But this dude, he can run and catch the ball and block. Like, we see AJ Brown take plays off when he's not getting the ball. So, I mean, I think, and the other thing I wanted to touch on with Jalen Hurts.
I got to run, all right, but I got a lot.
Okay, one last thing about Jalen Hurts. The one thing I don't like about Jalen Hurts, he doesn't throw to the middle at
Yeah, he
all.
doesn't.
At
No.
all. He threw it about 2 times tonight. He threw it to Calcaterra once, and
He had Goddard late. He had a couple throws, but you're right. I mean, he doesn't work the middle of the field like a lot of other quarterbacks do.
if he
You're
worked
right.
the middle of the field, he would score more points. He would score more points if he hit the middle. He's all out in the numbers all the time. That's easy to figure out after 4 quarters of play.
Right. So we'll see how it goes. Akbar, just final thoughts going out of here. You feel better or worse about this team after this game?
I feel worse because number one, we're gonna see the Saints next week. We don't have shit for Alvin Kamara. Nothing. We have absolutely nothing. We ain't had nothing. Bijan Robinson, this is second year, and he looked pretty decent. Kamara is an animal, and he's looking like tip top form from like a couple years ago. Like he's a fucking animal. Now, I mean, maybe Derek Carr would take a shit because he's known for doing that. But I don't see it. And then Tampa Bay, you got
Yeah,
Mike
they look good.
Evans. I mean,
Chris Godwin's playing good too.
I'm looking. I was at 9-8 with Sills. I'm gonna hold off. I'm almost with Angie now. 5 minutes.
Oh, Akbar.
I'm almost
Akbar,
with
don't
Angie
do that
now.
to me, Akbar.
Look, man, look what he did tonight. They gave a game like sometimes you gotta save the quarterback. Sometimes you gotta save the players from themselves. And the smartest play would have been to hand the ball off 3 yards away. You only needed 3 yards for the first down. That's all you needed.
You're right.
I mean, it's fucking cocksuckers, man. Like, I just can't believe they did that shit to us. Like, that was flagrantly fucking egregious, horrendous, despicable. Every word you can think of. That
I
shit.
got you, brother. I hear you. I hear you loud and clear, Akbar. Look, I got to run. Thanks for joining in, brother. I'll catch up with you hopefully again next week after a win in Tampa. All right, man?
All right,
New Orleans.
All right.
Thanks, Akbar. Appreciate it, brother. There's Akbar joining in. I got a couple more I want to get to. Look at my man, James Carver. James, what's going on, brother? Welcome to the show, man. Great to have you on.
What's going on, Zander? How are you, buddy?
Good, man. What was your takeaway on the game tonight, James?
I know J-Mac's not going to like it in the morning, but two things. Especially in the second half, I think Dean got cooked watching the backfield way too much. He's great downhill, but I think White deserves a shot if we're going to play, especially cover 2, and if we're going to play cover 3, which we've done more than I've ever seen Vic run. Then you got to have a linebacker that can hang with people going across the middle, and Devin's got the athleticism and speed. So I think he deserves a shot, especially after 2 games, and it's a 50-50 on Nakobe. I like the guy. You and I both watched him in the SEC, but I don't know what's happening with him. I think you could possibly put him at, keep him at Mike and put Devin at the will, which is actually his better skill set, and then run Bond down in to be a pass rusher. If we're not going to get Reddick back, put him in opposite of Sweat. And I know everybody's trashing on Sweat right now, but if you go look at his numbers, he actually played really well. He's already ahead of 2021, which was arguably his best season. He's projected right now, if you look at his numbers through 2 games, he's already has more tackles, more assists. The only thing he's less than is on a sack total. But he has more pressures. He has more combination tackles. He has more assists than every single year for the past 3 years. So projection-wise. So I can go back obviously and look at the first 2 games of the season and so forth. So you could put, and everybody says Bond is Van Ginkel. Well, let's let him play Van Ginkel. Let him blitz off the edge. Let him drop into coverage, which he's shown he can do, and give White a shot to just play weak side linebacker, come flying through and get some sacks because we need somebody providing something beyond Brandon Graham because Brandon Graham is the only guy doing anything. And I also know both y'all don't like the idea of Q inside. I want Q outside, but he is a natural zone corner, which, especially in the second half, they were constantly throwing over the middle because it was just open every time. He could have jumped routes like Bland did last year for the Cowboys, and I could have seen him have a couple of picks. I mean, he almost had that one today.
No, I get why you're saying it. You know, I get both sides. I get why you're saying it. You fix a big problem, but
until Cooper's ready, you know, then let those two rookies fly, you know, and you know you're going to get 90%, and he's going to have some screw ups like he did. The bad luck is the 10% bad play from Q came on the last drive. You can't blame him for that. And for the people, I get it. I was pissed as hell. But I was also pissed in the first half when we didn't kick those 2 field goals. It was like, let's don't get greedy. Points we don't look like we're moving the ball. Kick the field goal, get the 3 points. Kick the second field goal, we're tied. No, we would have been down 1. Sorry, it would have been 7-6. But still, when we finally came on in the second half, well, then the whole drop ball from Barkley and everything else is a non-go. And I love Barkley, but to stand up for J-Mac, you got to put it on the players. The number 1 running back in the league with the most drops is Barkley. He's the number 1 running back to drop a pass. So he has great skills, but you can't overlook the fact that he also drops a lot of balls. So, it was just a bad night. The one thing I'm happy about is, and I've been saying it all year long, is I'm glad for the early bye. I thought we had so many changes.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's never a good thing to have an early bye, but
I know it sucks from J-Mac's thing saying, hey, we're going to have more people later on hurt and everything else. Yeah, but let's get to the second half of the season with a decent record versus having a bye late and getting everybody healthy, but we have a crappy season and we're not going to the playoffs, Yeah,
no doubt about it. Just James, just your final thoughts on the game tonight, man. Tough loss there to drop that game, but what's your final thoughts?
Final thoughts, 1-3 going into the bye. Hopefully we can turn it around. I think
you're going to have to, James, I'll tell you something you're going to have to answer for tomorrow.
Auburn. We're not going to look like Bama. We're going to look like Auburn for the first half, and I hate to say that.
Yeah.
And for the people that don't know, I teach at Auburn on medical leave right now, and Zander's the Bama dude. And Zander is would love to see this team look like Bama, but we're not going to look like Bama for a while.
We're not going to. I tell you, James, I'll tell you something you're going to have to answer for in the chat tomorrow. You're going to have to answer for the Dallas Cowboys shirt that you're wearing on the JAKIB Postgame Show.
Well, I also got my Eagles thing, but I put on both because they're both losers. I actually went and purposely put this on because I was like, they both ruined my night. So I've got my sniffer of brandy over here, got my cigarettes, which I'm not supposed to be doing on either one on medicine, but I'm like, these people have made me so mad. It's like, screw it.
I hear you, brother. James, thanks for joining, man. Great to put a face.
At least I didn't put an Auburn hat on, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know if I would have brought you up if you did that. But James, thanks for checking in, man. Thank you for all your support of the channel. You're one of our best in the chat as always. So thank you, man. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you.
Take care, Xander. Y'all have a great night, and God bless.
God bless. See you, man. There's James Carver. I got a couple more in the chat. Let's go to our man Abe. Abe, you in there? What's going on, Abe? How you doing, brother?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good, man. What's your thoughts on this tough loss tonight, man? And
terrible on both sides. Terrible. All Jalen did was point and look at fucking Smitty the whole damn time. Just the same thing how he did with AJ. Targeted him 10 times, only caught it 7 fucking times. Then we got AJ the last game 8 times out of the 10 times. Like, can you look at somebody else? Can you look at fucking running the ball, doing this something else, then
he's struggling with getting the progression still, Abe.
it fucking pissed me off. Like, I get it. Like, he was doing the check downs. He wasn't throwing no damn interceptions. That was good and all. But then until the last fucking minute, you could have just ran the ball. Like, so
What was your take on the M with the play with Barkley and the pass?
He should have just ran it. Like Sil said, I agree with Sil.
Yeah.
He should have just fucking ran it. Like, he was doing well the whole damn time.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I mean, look, it is a tough play call there. And look, John does have a good point where if he makes that catch, we're sitting here talking about an Eagles win and we're 2-0 and we're singing a different song right now on the show. But, you know, I do think you minimize your downside there if you're a coach and you run the ball, especially when you got a guy
to Cousins. Man,
I thought Akbar brought up a great point, Abe. If you go for it on 4th down, you're at the 3-yard line.
Exactly.
You know, Kirk Cousins got to go 97 yards. I thought that was a good point by Akbar.
That was a great point. That was a great point.
Just your final thoughts, Abe, on what you think of, you know, are you feeling better or worse about this team? I know you were pushing back on Big Sills with the 9 wins. Where are you right now coming out of that loss?
Worse. I don't even know if we can beat the damn Saints. I think we might even look worse
They're
than the
red
damn
hot
Cowboys.
Right now.
Like, how do we lose
red hot.
Cousins? Huff didn't do shit. Slipped on the first play. I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. Tough one tonight, Abe. Abe, thanks for joining me. Any final thoughts on your way out the door?
Nothing, man. I can't even watch the next game.
You're gonna have to, Abe. You gotta watch the next game, brother. Come on,
I'll be there.
This is part of being an Eagles fan. You suffer through it and you watch.
I can't do it. PTSD
All right, I'll
again.
talk to you, brother. Thank you for joining me. I'll catch you in the morning. Hopefully, you're on watching on Birds 365, right, man?
All righty.
All right, brother. I'll catch you. See you, Abe. Thank you, man. There's good stuff. Just 2 left. I have Joe Whip and Hot Sport. Hot Sport, I'm going to go to you first. You were in here before Joe. Let's go to Hot Sport. Now, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Hey, Zander. Thanks for having me on again. Man, I'm a bit shell-shocked. First of all, I think my point of view is a bit different to some of your others, as always, because doing this YouTube game, you know, you kind of have to look at the big picture and kind of stay level-headed on everything and kind of look at everything as a whole, like take a step back. There were moments in the game, I don't think people really spoke about it, and this was at the start, the one when we turned it over on downs when we got into the red zone, yeah? Twice, I thought that, I think it was 3rd and 4 and then 4th and 4. I thought that, like all Eagles, we would have run the ball on 3rd and 4 and then maybe, you know, Philly shoved it on 4th. So he's rolling out Jalen Hurts. And both of those times, I thought Jalen could have run. There was room for him to run and pick up the first down on both the 3rd and the 4th down. Then I thought later in the game, when he picked it up on 4th, that he showed some maturity and that he was able to go and actually use his legs, run the ball, which he had been doing in 22, which was good. So I felt like he broke that mental barrier of, like, I felt like he was afraid to actually take off. And he finally did it on that 4th down. And I thought, okay, he's figured out, we've got here. And then in that final stage, right at the end, again, we had the game won, dude. Like, I know we can talk about the defense, we could talk about this, we could talk about that. But I thought overall, I thought it was a game where we learned from sort of our mistakes. And you know, I thought even Nick Sirianni was brilliant by taking the timeout. To stop the to decline in the offside. Sorry. When he declined the offside, yeah. So they had to burn the timeout. I was like, oh, Nick's got this. He's gonna run the clock all the way down. But throwing the ball, I know what John McMullen is trying to say, but throwing the ball is a bad play to begin with, just because it stops the clock if you throw it incomplete.
Yeah, the risk or the downside is too big there. So I understand what Silva's saying.
But if he runs the ball, even on 3rd, even if we don't get it on 3rd, let's make it 4th and real short. And I like what Akbar said, even if you go for it on 4th. But I thought that we could run the ball on 3rd with Barkley. Maybe we'll get to 4th and 1, 4th and 2, and we can go for that again. And also you burn another 40 seconds off the clock, right? And I thought that's just absolutely egregious. And on the defense for a second, I actually don't think the defense was as bad, because we kept holding them to 3 over and over and over again in this game. And CJ made the big play on 4th down that I thought won us the game. Yeah, but all of a sudden we lose and people forget all of this stuff in the complex. And all that that last drive was absolutely horrendous on defensively. And you're right. Aikman was right. We had the secondary drop way too deep. They had whatever they wanted. They had the sidelines, and it was awful. And that last 2 minutes was terrible. But I'm not too down on this team overall, Xander. I'm going to stay consistent. I know this was a bad game. We had a shocking moment here, but look, every week is different. Maybe we catch the Saints out. They might be high on themselves, and we might be able to shock them next week. I actually think we'll beat Tampa Bay as well. So it's look, next week is going to be hard. I'm kind of maybe this is a bit of hopium, but I don't know. I still think this is a good football team. Obviously, we're missing AJ.
They definitely are still a good football team, but that doesn't.
Yeah, I don't think it's 5 wins or 9 wins or 8 wins.
Man, there's a lot of talented players in the NFL. It's not all about talent. As I'm sure you listened to Jason Hurts or Jalen Hurts' interview with Jason Kelsey. He says that in the interview. It ain't all about talent. It takes more than that. So, Hotspur, final point here before you get out of here. Just how you feeling about this team? It seems like you're a little bit more optimistic after that loss, but just find out how you're feeling about this team as we move into week 3.
Look, overall, I can see that the team is actually probably heading in the right direction. There's obviously working things we got to work out, but I thought we had this game under control for literally the entire thing until that final 2 minutes. And I take time to look at the first 58 minutes of this game, which I thought we had it under control, and think that can be a template. I think last year we let everything.
It wasn't. I wouldn't say the first 8 minutes were pretty.
It wasn't. It was ugly, but you felt we were going to win the ball game, right?
We were going to win for sure.
And so I think this is a team that is. I think everyone's underlined this. We're kind of learning on the go. We got 2 new coordinators, and I think it's just going to get better. Like these moments suck, obviously, and I'm not going to be able to stop thinking about it. But I think overall we're going to be okay. And actually, by the way, I love the fact that Nick stood up for himself today in the press conference. I thought that's the most balls this guy has shown in his entire time being the coach of the Eagles.
It's a good
I'm
point.
actually proud of him.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah.
Hot Sport, good stuff, man. Thanks for joining.
No worries, and thank you always for having me on.
Of course, man.
This is the best platform in Philly.
Thank you, brother.
Honestly.
I appreciate that very much. Well, by the way, just for everybody in the chat, where are you watching from? You got light behind you. It's 1:30 in the morning, Hot Sport. I got a show in 6.5 hours, and you got light behind. I'm like, where is this guy?
So I'm actually in Melbourne, Australia. So
okay.
It's actually the best place to watch sports because I also follow English Premier League and the NFL, and I don't have to have.
That's what all you Euros are soccer guys, man. I don't watch soccer.
I don't have to have multiple different subscriptions. I got the one subscription that I can watch. They even have it on cable. Like you don't have to. Like last week's game was on cable. Nothing like, and you get to watch them in the middle of the day. While I work. So
yeah, good stuff. All right, Hot Sport. Thank you, man. I'll talk to you again soon. All right, brother.
Yeah. All right. I'll be back probably next week.
Yep. See ya. One more, Joe. I had another one in the chat. James. His name is James Worthy, I think. I don't know if he's in the chat. James, if you're in there, I will go to you, but you're not in there. Let me go to my man, Joe Whip. Joe, I can't really see you, brother. I got your audio, so that's good enough for now. Just your thoughts on tonight's game, man. A tough collapse at the end.
I'm in my man cave. I'm learning from Akbar last week.
Okay, yeah, you're taking a page out of Akbar's book.
So, a couple things that struck me. First of all, I would have run the ball at the end of the game, but it wasn't like they threw a pass play over the middle. That was almost like a handoff. I mean, that the fact that he dropped the ball was just
and it was a perfect throw. I mean, Hurts put it right on the money.
Yeah, he just dropped it. I mean, hey, they could have handed off to Saquon and he could have fumbled it, or Jalen could have fumbled the snap.
Yeah,
and
it's easy to play the coulda, shoulda, woulda game.
Yeah. I mean, that ball that should have been. He should have caught the ball, fall down. They run the clock out. Don't even give him a chance. The thing that for me, the biggest takeaway from the game is how putrid the defense was. The defensive line. I have an 83-inch screen in here, and I can go back and watch the plays. Jalen Carter was pushed around the entire night.
Yeah, he was not good.
Jordan Davis was pushed around the entire night. Huff was awful. And Johnny Mack was right. Bijan Robinson chipped Nolan Smith and drove him into the ground.
Yeah, I didn't see it. I'm going to go back and watch that.
Look at that. He dropped him like a bag of cement. And they're just they had no attack. They couldn't control the edge, and they were running over them. So I think the defensive line is just terrible.
Yeah, and look, they're going to have to be better if this team wants to go far into the playoffs. That's just the reality.
Milton Williams played okay. I thought Booker played pretty well.
Well, Milton had the sack, Joe, but outside of that, did he do much, or is everybody just high because he made the big play?
He held the point of attack.
Okay.
Gordon Davis and Jalen Carter, they were not even double teaming Jalen Carter most of the game.
Yeah, they didn't need to.
No, they were just pushing him around like he wasn't even there. And then, look, I've posted this in the chat. I cannot stand the Fangio defense. Fangio defense has never won a Super Bowl, and it's so confusing. That's why you see guys wide open over the middle, because the players don't know what they're doing. It's too confusing. And the fact that it was like, what the old saying about a prevent defense, the only thing it prevents is winning.
Yeah.
Right? And they were just.
Well, I like what someone put earlier. They put it's not bend but don't break. It's bend but eventually break, or whatever the guy put. Bend but then break. Yeah, I think that's a better name for it, because eventually, Joe, it always breaks.
Yeah, they didn't even put up a defense at the end of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that was just look. I'm not a fan of the Fangio defense. He plays it way too soft. The defensive line was getting no pressure. So you have to play up and attack. That's why I like Spags. That's why Spags wins Super Bowls.
Yeah, man.
He attacks. He looks for weaknesses.
Hey, look, we had Jim Schwartz here and won our Super Bowl with us. He did the same damn thing.
That's what. Look, the best two things I would say is I think my Sundays are going to be cleared up this fall for more golf, because I'm not going to sit around here with beautiful weather and watch that crap week after week. So it doesn't sound like, Joe, you're feeling very optimistic going. No, I'm with Akbar. I'm starting to get closer to Angelo than where I was last week.
All right, this is going up the rails fast with everybody. We now have people riding with Angelo. It's unbelievable.
No, I'm not riding.
Wait, just a couple questions too on just your point. What you thought of the offense tonight. I thought Jalen played a little bit better. Tough to see him throw the interception at the end, but just what you thought of the offense without AJ Brown.
I thought the offense was a little predictable. I thought Hurts played better than he did last week, but it's pretty obvious now that after last year, especially the Seattle game where he made those plays, that I think that these teams have scouted him enough to know, like, at the end of that game, I'm sure that the defensive coordinator for Atlanta said, look, he's going to try to feed the ball deep, and he's not going to look at the safeties. And I think there's enough tape that they know what he's going to do, and they were prepared for it. And by the way, Goddard was wide open over the middle. I mean, that's the thing about him that drives me crazy.
Yeah,
he always looks to go deep.
Yeah.
He goes to go deep instead of taking the easy throw.
Yeah, I think it's simple progression. I think he still struggles to just get through those progressions, and then he defaults to the deep ball.
Yeah, and the other team knows it.
Yeah.
And the safety was you could see the safety was ready for that. So that's what gives me pause. Jalen doesn't seem to learn from his prior mistakes. Hey, maybe we'll see Jalen, what's his name, Hunt, instead of Huff, because Huff gave nothing.
Huff is my number one milk carton guy right now. Is put him all over a case in the city, because he has been nowhere. Joe, just your final thoughts on the way out, man. Tough loss tonight to be an Eagle fan. Obviously, hate to see it end that way. That was brutal to watch at the end. Just your final thoughts. I thought you had some great points tonight.
Yeah, that was a tough loss. They should have won that game.
Yeah.
But if they play defense like that next week, New Orleans may score 70.
The sad part is you're right, because that's a hot team, and they just put up 44 versus the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. So that's a scary team coming into week 3. Joe, thanks for joining, man. Appreciate your insight tonight. Yeah, you're great tonight, man. Talk to you again soon. All right, brother.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, see you, man. There's Joe Webb joining. Great stuff from everybody. Thank you all to all of our fans and all of our members, all of our viewers in the chat. You guys are the absolute best. So thank you guys for that, making the show a success. Another great night on the JAKIB Postgame Show. I got to get out of Dodge, everybody. Try and get some sleep. I'm a little bit jacked up, so it might take me a little bit to fall asleep. But Birds 365 is coming up in 6.5 hours. So I got to get ready for that. I'll talk to John McMullen in the morning. We have 2 great guests. We have Jeff Kerr and we have Chris Franklin. So we'll have 2 post-game guests again on the show. So we'll get their breakdown of the game. Thank you to all who joined tonight. Akbar, Abe was in, Hot Sport, Joe Whip, and James Carver, my man James Carver. James, great to talk to you, brother. You've been a great supporter. So thank you for joining tonight. I thought everybody was excellent. Before I get out of Dodge, I am going to run through a couple more of the super chats that I missed, a couple 199ers that I missed. Nick Marchetti, Old Man Slay gets cooked again. He's washed. That was a bad play at the end. Sorry, ass defense. Jalen is trash. This team sucks. Everybody is the sound and the alarms on this team right now. Brandon Snyder, Darius Slay has somehow gotten worse from last year. Jeff Bone says Sills was right. How you doing? James M checks in. Barkley rips, runs, all drive, and you call a pass. James M, that was my point. I agreed, 100%, man. Shooter McGavin checks in. Some of you wanted Sirianni over Belichick. Idiots, LOL. Shooters trolling some Eagles fans there. Who got Hassan number in flight? Appreciate it, brother. Braden's World. Don't forget 3 points off the board in first quarter. Yep, Braden's, no doubt. Take the damn points. What is the problem with modern coaches? Take the points. You have 3 points right there staring you in the face. Take the points. Most games in the NFL are decided by 3, 4, 5 points. Take the points. Oh, God, I'll say it to him blue in the face. Appreciate the super chat, Braden's World. Nathan Monson checks in. Hurts joked, can't have it. Hurts choked. I think he meant can't have a Dak type QB on my team. I'm not ready to go there, Nathan. Big fish, little boat. Covey was open across the middle. Yeah, Joe Webb just brought that up. Big fish, no doubt. Favio checks in. Vic play calling sucked. No linebacker rush. I thought Vic was weak tonight. The defense was ugly as a whole. Philip McLaughlin checks in. Defense took me back to the end of last season. Scary thought there, Philip, but you might be right, brother. Nick Marchetti. Huff was fixing his helmet mid-play on a run. Nick, what was Bryce Huff doing on the runs tonight? He is a liability on the field. There were some plays you watch him and you're like, is that guy playing for? Does he know the ball was hiked? It's unbelievable. But appreciate the super chat, man. Prince Swayze, I blame our dumbass head coach. Prince has his sights set on Jalen Hurts or on Nick Sirianni tonight. Khaled checks in. AJ Brown too hurt for a couple weeks this season. It's cooked. Khaled, I'm not cooked yet, man. Dominic checks in, bro. Eagles suck. Come root for Dallas. Never, Dominic. Never. Nathan Monson, 51 points allowed in 2 games is not a Super Bowl defense. Both teams are at best top 10, 15 defense. I'm worried about how we look against top 5 offenses. Good point. Excuse me, everybody. Will Farrell checks in, or I don't know if it's Will. I just said Will Farrell. W. Farrell. Eagles bring Hassan back. Let's not wait a year. Howie, you have a chance. Would fix your mistake. The defensive rush is sad. I don't think that's happening. 99 cents line now. Thank you, brother. Nick, again, start Rodgers and Q on the outside. Slay is done. Might be a possibility in this soon in the future. Hate to say it, 9-8 Sills. I'm sick with this talent. Appreciate it, Farrell. Nick, again, Eagles 0-3 without AJ. He's as valuable as C-Mac as CMC is. Oof. Might be right, though. Lionel, shades of Seahawk game from last year. We crumbled. Yes, we did, Lionel. In flight, what would you do to get ready for Saints? Fix that defense and get ready to throw the ball. You got to figure out how to win and have a viable offense without A.J. Brown. That's going to be a tough game next week. If we're 1-3 at the bye, is Nick fired? I'm going to say no, Cheese. I don't think so. Double M, couple more I think I have. Double M, it was like the Seahawks games all over again. Yeah, that's now 2 that have said that. It's a good point. I'm going to go rewatch that game this week and kind of see if I can draw some comparisons as well. I do know what you guys are talking about, though. Angel says Jalen laid a fat egg at the end. Maybe he's a dog. Some of you guys make me laugh, man. Jalen lays a fat egg. Maybe he's a duck. That's a classic comment right there. Des Morgan, Cam Jurgens was killing drives all game. Yeah, he's got to clean that up. Some of those penalties are brutal. But all right, that's going to do it, man. Great show tonight. Thank you guys all for being in here. Akbar, appreciate you, brother. Appreciate everybody. Thank you all. in the chat. Hopefully some of you guys make it up for me. Birds 365 in the morning in 6 hours. If you guys are sleeping, that's all right. Catch the replay on JAKIB Sports. We'll be bringing you some heat on the show in the morning. Make sure you guys hit that like button on your way out. Great stuff on the JAKIB Postgame Show tonight, everybody. Catch you next time on JAKIB Sports, everybody.
He's blocked well and tries to cut through the middle. Oh!
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on Sports Grid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on Sports Grid.
Score and save at Southeastern PA and Delaware with Colony Pools this football season, and let the experts close your pool with a custom Merlin safety cover in green for the birds. And if you join our Winter Watch team, we'll give you another 20% off, and Colony Pools will handle it all. Keep your tiles on your pool, not in your pool. Fly with Colony right now, birds fans. Visit flywithcolony.com.
I get scared sometimes.
Of a lot of things.
Joining in.
Decisions.
The dark.
The dark.
But I once heard someone say,
But as I always say,
it's okay to be afraid.
as long as you face the fear.
And keep moving forward.
Wherever you are in life, count on the name trusted in insurance for over 80 years. Independence Blue Cross.
Hi everybody, my name's Jason Lombardi. I'm an inspector at DryTech. At DryTech we offer three major services, the first one being basement waterproofing. The second service we offer is foundation and structural repairs. And then the third service that we offer is mold remediation. If you feel you are having a waterproofing issue, give DryTech a call or check us out online.
Heading down the shore. Have a ball once more.
Here, imaginations run wild and time stands still. Because here, you can find the best of the Jersey Shore, all on one 5-mile island. So leave the old you behind and get lost in the woods.
Wild, wild, wildwood.
Plan your stay in the Wildwoods today.
EAGLES, Eagles.